nice, we don't need to tell them twice.
Here comes the future.
Yeah, we look nice, future looking real nice, we don't need to tell them twice.
Here comes the future.
Finals action continues in the Liberty A-League with Sydney FC, the premiers, taking on second-placed Western United. The winner goes direct to the grand final, and the loser gets a second chance, which they will cash in next Saturday against Melbourne Victory, who are waiting in the preliminary final. Western United in their inaugural season, hoping to leap all the way to the season decider. Sydney FC trying to go back to familiar territory and finally close the deal of winning the championship. Let's take a look at the Sydney FC team for the first time in 6 weeks. Charlotte McLean, the number 3 at centre-back, returns from her fractured cheek, which kept her out of the team. Actually suffered on March the 5th, last time these two teams met. A couple of changes on the bench. Rolla Badawia, the striker, is added to the subs. Deborah Andella Harp moves to the bench to make way for McLean. And there is no Anna Green or Tegan Collister, who drop out of Ante Juric's matchday squad. Western United make one change. Emma Rovers is back after 1 week out of the team due to a knock to the ankle, but she is restored among the starters immediately, joining the Taranto twins Adriana and Melissa in midfield. It pushes the Filipino international Jacqueline Savicki to the bench. I'm sure international duty and also travel has had an impact on that decision. Out of the squad goes Franny Iamano. Both teams are wearing their home kits. Sydney in their home sky blue. Western United getting to wear their green and black stripes. What a moment for a number of these players. 4 months ago, they were walking out onto the pitch for their first A-League women's game. Some of them, now they are walking out in a finals environment. There is Charlotte McLean, one of the highest rated players by her own coach, Ante Juric, who has advocated for her Matilda's candidacy on a number of occasions, and hopefully the surgeon did a good enough job that she's both recognisable on and off the pitch after that facial injury. And there is the golden boot, Hannah Keane, 13 goals in 18 home and away games that took her to the top of the scoring charts by one from Michelle Heyman, and the 29-year-old American who has seen the world, travelling around Europe, the UK and her native country, including a previous stint in Australia, has now made her mark on the National League. There's Ante Juric. Said a number of times that his team didn't get the credit they deserved during the home and away season. Now the time comes to deliver in finals and make sure that they are not simply pigeonholed as home and away specialists. And Mark Torcaso had a long and successful time in the NPL Victoria Women's as the coach of Calder United, winning cup finals and finals matches. Didn't have the happiest time in the old WPL at Bundoora United, but that's ancient history that he'll be hoping doesn't rear its head here in the National League. Today's referee is Georgia Ghirardello. Got finals action at the end of last season too, so very much used to this stage now. Assistants are Misuk Park and Delphina Demoski. The fourth official, as she was yesterday, Isabella Blais. And a former Matilda and champion of the old W League is Grace Gill, who joins me. And Grace, this stage is one you know so well. However, there is a second chance for the loser of today's game. It's only the second season we've had this finals format. Does that change the approach of these two teams, knowing that there is a next week if they don't win today?
Well, good evening, Taylor. A pleasure to be alongside you, and huge expectations on tonight's game after what was a blockbuster semi-final yesterday between City and Victory. But with a ticket to the grand final at stake, this one tonight ought to be an exciting one.
And we see that midfield Emma Rovers returning alongside the Taranto twins, Adriana and Melissa. How many minutes will she have in the legs? There's Jada Wyman, back from the UK, where she was one of 4 keepers with the Matildas. Didn't get any game time or that elusive first cap. But at this level, A-League Women's is one where she is known to dominate. And Hilary Beale, one of the standout goalkeepers this season. The American not summoned back to the NWSL for this very reason. Western United wanted her for finals. And finals action is about to kick off for these two teams. The major semi-final, the qualifying final, and the chance to go direct to the season decider is underway. And Grace, Allianz Stadium, Sydney FC have an imperious record here. Played 4, won 4, scored 13, yet to concede a goal. It is a venue that they would very happily call home for this one.
Well, they'll be looking to continue that record, no doubt, across this evening's match. That's a formidable record that they have here at Allianz. What sounds to be a really good crowd, really good, healthy, vocal crowd, particularly behind Sydney FC.
As we see a long ball here from Angie Beard that's intercepted by Nat Tobin, the Sydney FC captain, and Charlie Rule playing the ball down the wing, but can't connect with Courtney Vine, who thought she was interfered with there, the Matilda. And we did see Vine go off at the end of the game against England, Grace, in that international window, but just cramp, we understand, and she's fit and ready to start today. No jet lag, no issues, it seems.
Well, Matilda's fans, Sydney FC fans alike, would have breathed a sigh of relief, not only seeing Courtney Vine named on the matchday squad, but starting tonight. It did look a little concerning when she went down for the Matildas, but pleased to hear for Courtney that it was just a knock or a bit of cramp.
As we see Taranto applying pressure here. Indiana Dos Santos, the 15-year-old, keeping her spot in the starting 11, but Sarah Hunter can't find a teammate with that pass. Stacey Papadopoulos makes the intercept and plays it back to Hilary Beale. For those of you that may have been tuning in to the Liberty A-League for the first time, having seen the incredible scenes of yesterday's match between Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory and had your interest piqued, these two met twice during the home and away season, with Western United winning 2-0 back on the 11th of January, but more recently on the 5th of March it was an emphatic 3-0 win to Sydney FC when they met at Kogarah in Sydney's southern suburbs. So, Grace, certainly the recent form would suggest that Sydney FC comes in as a warm favourite today.
Yeah, very much so. And of course, home ground advantage as well for Sydney FC, which worked in their favour earlier in March. Western United, a team new to the competition this year.
Here's TJ Vlanich, dispossessed by Charlie Rule. Angie Beard came through to defend from the front, and now Mel Taranto. Western United really trying to bring some energy to their press, and they're able to spill possession. Sydney Cummings, the centre-back, getting forward. But now Sydney FC can counter. Mackenzie Hawkesby, such a dangerous player in the centre of midfield. One of the leading assist providers for Sydney FC this season. Sarah Hunter consolidates on the ball to Charlie Rule. And now Charlotte McLean playing it to Nat Tobin. 2 red cards this season, Nat Tobin. By no means a dirty player, but actually got sent off last time these two teams met for a couple of yellow cards. Gives the ball away here. Papadopoulos trying to feed it out to the right to the former Sydney FC player, Carly Johnson, hoping to come back and haunt her former club. She's been outfoxed here by Charlotte McLean. McLean takes on Rovers to Princess Abini. Now Dos Santos. Rovers is there but doesn't win the ball to her team's advantage. Rachel Lowe scooping a pass, but straight to Angie Beard. And now TJ Vlanich, hoping for Hannah Keane. Across comes Tobin for the intercept. Now TJ Vlanich puts the afterburners on, but can't chase the ball down. Still challenging, though. And the whistle's in the mouth. Foul by Mackenzie Hawkesby here on Mel Taranto. And Grace, what do you make of the way Western United are pressing Sydney FC in this first 5 minutes?
Well, it would have been an early instruction from coaching staff, Mark Takaso, to try and put Sydney on the back foot. They know their strength across the field, and seasons gone by. Very experienced finals team, Sydney FC, and I think the message would have been to try and rattle them a little bit, to be on their first touch, to not give them any time or space to look up. A little hand of apology there between Mackenzie Hawkesby and Taranto too, and that midfield battle will really shape up as the evening wears on.
I mentioned the Philippines international Jacqueline Savicki on the bench. The Philippines advanced as group winners in Olympic qualifying, where they may well end up drawing the Matildas after the 2023 World Cup is out of the way. Just wonder what sort of an impact that may have had on her. As we see Cummings free kick sliding on, not quite dealt with by the Sydney defence initially. Rovers unable to capitalise. We see Angie Beard here blocking the ball out for a throw.
Some positive signs early from Western United. Long ball into the box. Had Jada Wyman thinking twice about whether to come out, whether to hold her line.
Courtney Vine here, trying to skip past Angie Beard, but ran out of room against the touchline. Those two, of course, both Queenslanders, Vine and Beard, came through at the Brisbane Roar more or less together. Would know each other's games pretty well from those days. Here's Hannah Keane, dispossessed by McLean. Princess Abini trying to capitalise, bumps shoulder to shoulder here against Mel Taranto, who's done well just to interrupt Abini. Through comes McLean, a great interception, real energy, and feeding it back to Abini, who gets another chance. Abini's going to shoot from distance. And Hilary Beale, tested for the first time, is able to drag the save down.
Well, it is that battle of the midfield. Some physical challenges. Good anticipation there by McLean, and Abini's just given enough time to look up and drive. Hilary Beale had plenty of time to look at that one, to judge that into her hands, but that'll be a good, important touch for her to get.
Abini with 7 goals this season, including scoring the 3rd. Last time these two teams met, their most proficient season in front of goal. Of course, it's an extended season, up from 14 games to 18 this campaign, but still, Abini very much outperforming her previous best tally, as Courtney Vine is in behind looking for the cutback, and Angie Beard, who has set herself for the battle against Courtney Vine today, is able to block that cross out for a corner.
Quite a battle that will be as the afternoon wears on. Angie Beard, with her experience, just having to be so alert to the run of Courtney Vine, who cuts across really nicely. But Beard is positioned well, and we know how dangerous down that right-hand flank Courtney Vine can be.
So here's the first corner of the game for Mackenzie Hawkesby. Hannah Keane able to win it in the air, back on defensive duty. Sarah Hunter consolidating possession, and now Indiana Dos Santos back to Charlotte McLean. So Western able to deal with Sydney FC's first corner of the game. Sydney FC looking to press on though. Sarah Hunter to Mackenzie Hawkesby. Rachel Lowe waits in the middle. Hawkesby, a quick head check. Who's on? Lays it back to the top of the box. Hunter dispossessed by Mel Taranto, who's done well. When you think back to this game last season, Sydney FC against Melbourne City in the qualifying final, Sarah Hunter scored what proved to be the match winner that day, and she does pop up at important times with important goals, and she's scored 4 this season from central midfield.
Well, Sarah Hunter, she has well and truly consolidated her spot in this Sydney FC side, as well, spending some time with the young Matildas, the under-20s national team. She's well and truly a player of the future, and not only now, she's doing great things for Sydney FC.
Here's Vine taking on Beard, and Beard wins the show of strength, able to take the ball away without committing a foul. Western United happy to go back to Hilary Beale in the penalty area. It's a big pitch, Allianz, and you can just see the open spaces. I think both teams are still very much calibrating their passing range in order to fit the ground. Let's go down to ground level, where we say good evening to Neve Owens for the first time.
Hello, Teo. Gigi, so excited to be here at Allianz Stadium on what is a perfect night for a game of football. It's just below 20 degrees. You mentioned the pitch, Teo. It isn't looking in the best nick. Beautiful stadium, but the pitch itself, the Waratahs played here last night, had a big win, dug up the pitch. Sydney FC played here a little bit earlier on against Perth Glory today as well. So that may be something for the girls to get used to as they settle into this semi-final contest.
Thanks, Neve. Early break of the no Steeden rule, though, mentioning the Waratahs. However, so far, Sydney FC, through Rachel Lowe, trying to fashion another chance here. Courtney Vine, ball not quite glued to her feet. TJ Vlanich able to get an interrupting touch, and then Vine just got tangled there as she tried to control the ball. But Sydney FC is starting to take over the territorial battle.
They are indeed, and a great ball through the centre of the park there from Nat Tobin. Starting to get her dial in, pick out some passes, but Alana Cern, she's been excellent for Western United this season. Often captaining the side. Hilary Beale wearing the armband tonight, but there had to be some last-ditch defending here. A little panicked, albeit, but for Western United, just getting the ball away from the likes of Courtney Vine, Rachel Lowe, who has also been threatening more of a number 9 role in the last few weeks.
Beard's giveaway to Rule. Beard back in on Vine. You mentioned the captaincy situation. Of course, Jacqueline Savicki was named club captain, and then Chloe Lagazzo has worn the armband at times, but they haven't had those two really. Lagazzo only the 6 appearances and not even on the bench today, even though she is at the ground. It means that they have had to hand the armband around quite a bit this campaign.
Yeah, they have, and I think it speaks to the leadership that we've seen grow across this Western United team in their inaugural year. 11 of their players never having played A-League Women's before, now stepping up, the likes of Hilary Beale tonight, the American international being brought in, and I'm sure with her experience, her leadership, she'll play an important role too tonight.
Cummings caught in possession, dangerous for Western, but Mel Taranto shanked the ball out to Papadopoulos, who with a more true kick of the ball is able to clear it up to Hunter. However, things were unfolding in a promising fashion there for Sydney FC, who are just starting to turn the screws on Western now, almost at 70% possession, very much territorially dominant, keeping the ball in their attacking half. Can they turn it into a meaningful shot on goal, though? That's the question. Throw-in finds its way to Rachel Lowe. Protecting the ball away from Rovers. Kirsty Fenton now to Lowe. Steers it central for Princess Abini. And Abini, Mackenzie Hawkesby perhaps thought that was sliding onto Courtney Vine. The ball does reach its intended target in Vine. Charlie Rule. And now Hawkesby. And the cutback, well, that might have been keeper's ball, but Alana Cern wasn't taking any risks and puts it behind for a corner.
That's a clever run there by Hawkesby. She's just managed to veer off the shoulder of Taranto. Rule's done well. Thought it might have just crept over the line there, but it's been touching a bit of white.
So Alana Cern, 20-year-old defender, right in the middle of the 6-yard box here, defending this corner kick. Second of the game for Sydney, to be taken by Hawkesby with that drifting style. And it skims through the penalty area, and a shove on Rovers has drawn the attention of the referee for a free kick.
To be fair, Sydney FC, although they've scored a lot of goals, not conceded many, they haven't been the most fruitful from corners. Western United, on the other hand, have some really tall presence in the middle there. Sydney Cummings, Hannah Keane, both in defence and attack. That aerial threat seems to have the edge over Sydney FC.
Adriana Taranto making ground to pass the ball on to Vlanic. Can Western get something going in an attacking sense? It's mainly been them absorbing so far for the first 13 minutes of the game. A pass like that really does run the risk of inviting on more pressure, but Rule not quite able to capitalise. Scored 3 goals last year from right back Charlie Rule. Hasn't been able to hit the back of the net so far this season, but hasn't put a foot wrong playing in that position. Wins the header here. Hannah Keane just a little bit sore after that aerial duel. Having a word to the referee, and Charlie Rule, she's had a far more disciplined year too. She was quite a prolific fouler last season, but she's cut the number of fouls she commits in half this campaign, so she's getting smarter about her physicality too.
I think she was in fact leading that statistic last season with the number of fouls conceded, but has to be much more disciplined. And speaking of fouls there, just a bit of a heavy contact through the back of Courtney Vine from Angie Beard as that contest continues.
So the corners haven't quite worked. What about a long-range free kick? This one's lifted to the penalty spot. It's all Western initially. Second ball's there to be won though. Vine. And now Tobin to Vine. Good save by Beale, and Abini not able to meet the parry. Oh, it's set up tantalisingly for Princess Abini, but not able to lunge out to the ball. Sydney not done. They want to keep this attacking phase going. Dos Santos bumped off the ball by Rovers. And now Adriana Taranto finds Carly Johnson. Western not able to get a counter-attack going though. And Abini against Sydney Cummings, and Cummings is able to find the safety of the line.
Well, it was a great look for Sydney FC here. Nice ball lofted in to the 18-yard box, and this opened up really kindly for Courtney Vine. She's made the right decision to try and go across the face of the goal, and Hilary Beale strong wrists on that save. Habini, that's just gone tantalisingly close past that outstretched left foot.
Habini gets another chance here off the back of Cummings. Papadopoulos. Fenton committed to the ball, able to beat Carly Johnson. Johnson back in, Fenton unflustered. And that cross is a little too close to the keeper. But right now, Western United just need to break the shackles. This game is taking place almost entirely in their defensive half.
Yeah, this has been all Sky Blue attack. I've seen very little play in Western United's attacking half. To be fair, they've played a lot of their football like that this season, just sitting back, absorbing pressure, looking to catch teams on the break and on the counter-attack.
As the ball goes out for a goal kick, let's check back in at pitch level with Neve Owens.
We've got Courtney Vine just out in front of where we're sitting, Teo. It's been so interesting, that battle between her and Angie Beard early in this contest. Western are getting really physical with the Matilda. She's had a big couple of weeks, Courtney Vine, plenty of travel. She played against Scotland and against England as well. And they obviously think that that physicality in the way they approach that battle to try and keep her out of this contest will be really important.
Thank you, Neve. I mentioned that they both came through at the Raw together. They're both 25 years old. Angie Beard, August 97, Courtney Vine, April 98. So very much in the same class of young Matildas as they came through youth national teams. Beard capped by Australia, but hasn't been in the Matildas' reckoning for some time now. We see her charging through here and winning the ball off Courtney Vine. And she's dispossessed by Charlotte McLean, providing great defensive cover for Sydney FC. And one of the reasons that this game has spent so much time down in Sydney's attacking half, because when it goes down to Western's end, it doesn't spend very long there. Tobin in possession here. Charlie Rule. The middle of the pitch has really opened up for Rule here, and she's able to distribute to Hawkesby. Hawkesby, maybe a bit of a sneak attack there, just as Western United thought a cut across the penalty area was coming.
Perhaps a little indecision in Mackenzie Hawkesby's mind there. She's done really well just to check her line across the run of Alana Cern. She did have numbers just starting to float into the 6-yard box as well.
Can Western get an attack going here as Hannah Keane scuffs a shot? You just saw there, not the most decisive defence of a high long ball from Sydney FC, and maybe that'll be an encouraging sign for Western.
Well, for Western United, if they can hold off a tough Sydney FC, I think Neve's point about the physical challenges is right. Whether it's Angie Beard up against Courtney Vine, the midfield, we've seen a few crunching tackles already. Taranto against Hawkesby. But certainly that physical challenge will be something that we see from Western United, and just trying to pick apart ways to rattle what is a really experienced Sky Blue side.
Again, so much space in the middle of the park. And Taranto's not able to run onto that pass from Vlanich, and Sydney FC through Hunter, sweeping the ball forward. They can afford to be patient, can't they, Grace? There's no need to think that just because they've got the measure of the game so far that they need to create overloads or force an extra number forward to try and capitalise on the dominance that they're currently displaying.
Of course, they need to be patient, need to be smart, considered in the times they choose to go forward. But importantly, need to be ruthless in those moments too. We've seen many games where teams dominate possession, touches, passes, entries into the final third, but if you don't capitalise on those moments, they really can start to come back around as the game wears on.
There's Andrew Redmayne, Socceroos goalkeeper, just finished playing with Sydney FC, who had a good win in the men's, and Sydney FC, one of those clubs where both the men's and women's teams are very supportive of one another, so no doubt he'll be keeping a keen eye on things and hoping that his colleague Jada Wyman has a good day in between the sticks in goal. Princess Savini not happy with that pass. Jada Wyman's becoming a mere spectator at the moment. You don't want your goalkeeper to get too cold, Grace, with no activity happening down at her end of the pitch.
Definitely Hilary Beale, having been the busier of the two goalkeepers in this opening 20 minutes.
Hannah Keane back to goal here. Western committing some numbers forward. Carly Johnson now against Kirsty Fenton. Johnson shown the byline, and the assistant referee says corner kick. And so a set-piece opportunity here for Western United, and given their struggles in open play, maybe a set-piece will be just what the doctor ordered.
Well, it was a good tackle by Fenton. It had to be made. But for Western United, their set pieces, their corners in particular, and scored from 7 corners across the regular season, so they'll definitely be looking to try and get this to one of their taller players in the middle of the park.
Hannah King, who scored last game against Western Sydney Wanderers from a corner kick, the obvious target. Here's Vlanich, all about the delivery. Sydney Cummings, the whistle's already gone. Foul on the keeper. And Emma Rovers, maybe just a little bit of skullduggery on Jada Wyman behind play, has been blown up there by a very aware Georgia Ghirardello.
You can see early the danger from that delivery. Sydney Cummings just floating into the far post. She had the likes of Sarah Hunter, but as for the foul against Wyman, bit of a question mark on that one.
A bit of a question mark. The referee obviously had the complete opposite view of the behind-the-goal camera, so it may have been more apparent than that angle showed us. Of course, it's finals time for the referees as well. They love the high-pressure games and the big stage, and the assessors will no doubt be working out who they're going to put on the grand final and the prelim final too. Here's Rule, winning the ball away from Beard. And now Lowe, clipping it into the box, and perhaps frustratingly for Sydney FC on that occasion, Courtney Vine was back helping out the midfield and not able to join in that attack.
There's a poor giveaway by Angie Beard. She'll be frustrated at herself for that one, just trying to take a cheeky touch around Charlie Rule, who was very alert to the danger.
Physical challenges, 1-2, crash bang in midfield. The Western players get up sore, but with the free kick. Here's another look at that opportunity for Rachel Lowe.
Wasn't too much in the way of Sydney FC shirts in the box. And once again, Hilary Beale been called into action.
They've got a very attacking bench today, Sydney FC, both Madison Haley and Rola Badawia. Haley, who can play anywhere across the front three, and Badawia more of a centre forward. There is the bench. Haley far right, Badawia far left, both American. And there is Madison Haley, who's just been a goal-scoring force with 8 in 12 this season. Although laid low with a hip injury for a lot of the campaign. Here's Courtney Vine doing what she does best, breaking into open space and using that speed. Vine shooting straight at the keeper. But that is the thrilling football that we've become accustomed to from Courtney Vine.
Well, she's an excitement machine, Courtney Vine. Electric pace. The acceleration at full stride. Already past Alana Cern. Cern's done well just to close the angle off, make it easier for Hilary Beale there, but Courtney Vine in space is such a joy to watch.
Beanie's attempted a through ball here. Western haven't quite dealt with it yet. Hawkesby commits a foul, and it will provide some relief. Vine loves the right side of the penalty area, right foot shot into the bottom left corner though, doesn't she? That is a staple of her game, so interesting that she wasn't quite able to get the angle on that attempt there.
Yeah, from that angle, it's always the right decision to try and go across the goalkeeper. Unless the goalkeeper has a clean set of gloves on any save from that angle, they'll parry it back into oncoming traffic.
Crowd really starting to make some noise. Good atmosphere for this major semi-final, the qualifying final through to the grand final. Melbourne Victory, they'll be watching on. Hard to believe that 2 weeks ago at this time, Grace, they were watching on, desperately hoping that they would make the top 4. Now they'll be watching on, trying to work out who their opponent is going to be in the penultimate game of the season. Of course, Victory, the back-to-back defending champions of the Liberty A-League.
Well, it truly was such an exciting finish to the end of the season. Canberra, Perth, knocking on that final 4.
Here's a Beanie, a drifter, over the head of Hawkesby, and out for a goal kick. Well, there were some amazing scenes at the end of that home and away season. About 7 or 8 of the Victory players were all at the same house watching together. They put a video up on Instagram of the final whistle, and then they all went running out into the street celebrating as a team. So even when they're not out there on the pitch, it means so much to them being alive and being in the mix to win that trophy.
No doubt watching this one too tonight. Kayla Morrison spoke about how she could hardly watch that result. The anticipation and the nervousness behind the finish that the season came down to, and tonight as well. Huge moment for Sydney FC, who have been here so many times before, and for Western United, their first year in the competition.
Adriana Taranto, no foul on Hunter. Play continues. Hunter springs back to her feet. Carly Johnson to Emma Robers. Hannah Keane wants the ball in the middle, but maybe a little bit ambitious. Carly Johnson, though, might have the energy in the cross. Swings it into Keane! Western United have scored! And it's the golden boot! Hannah Keane! And not as against the run as you might have expected. They've been building into the game, but it will still be Sydney shocked at falling behind. It's the first goal they've conceded on Allianz this season.
Well, who else but Hannah Keane? What a signing she has been for Western United, for Mark Tocasso's side. The first shot on target, she's arrived, that run, perfection. Timing, she's just been able to nip in front of Charlotte McLean, and the cross too from Carly Johnson. What a delivery, and Hannah Keane, what a season she is having.
What about the run from Hannah Keane? We saw her with her arm up, pointing. Robers fed it out to Carly Johnson for that assist, and Hannah Keane, she's the bear in the square. The big lad up top, and what a finish from Hannah Keane.
There's been many times tonight that Charlotte McLean's done so well just to nip in front of her player and intercept the ball, but on that occasion, that was a very, very well-timed run from Hannah Keane. Perfect striker's intuition.
Georgia Ghirardello is not taking any back chat from Adriana Taranto here. Sydney looking for an instant reply, and it skims off the head of Rachel Lowe. And that's interesting from Georgia Ghirardello there, Grace, because we saw yesterday Lara Lee wasn't taking any back chat, immediately booked Katie Bowen for dissent, immediately booked Leah Privatelli for dissent, but every referee is different with how they handle the dialogue with the players out there.
Georgia Ghirardello quick to come back and have another conversation just to square things away with Adriana Taranto.
Did she mix the twins up there? That's what I want to know. Got a back pass here from McLean. Wouldn't be the first, by the way. Often the boots that the Taranto twins wear is one of the only ways to tell them apart. As the ball goes out for a throw here. And so, Ante Juric, what's going through his mind? He knows that his team have been able to come back from seemingly insurmountable positions, but Grace, here's the stat. Yesterday was just the 7th time in 44 A-League Women's Finals over 15 years that the team that scored the first goal didn't win. Melbourne City took the lead, but did not win the game. Just the 7th time in 15 years of finals.
You've dug deep into the record books for that one, Teo.
Yes, the record books is where I went digging for that stat. Thank you, Grace. As the ball goes out to the left for TJ Blanich. A high, hopeful cross. This time it's Carly Johnson in the middle. Provider trying to turn goal scorer, but Jana Wyman had command on that occasion. Rolls it out to Fenton, who's had her hands full with Carly Johnson in this first half. It is perhaps the one-on-one that Western United can point to as where they've got an edge at the moment in the game. Rule kept the ball in. Courtney Vine against Angie Beard. That duel also resuming on the opposite side of the pitch. Dos Santos trying to slide a pass through. Hawkesby was making a diagonal run. Robers coughs up the ball. Dos Santos able to recover possession for Sydney FC. They want to go back to the pattern of the first 15 minutes where they were very much on top of the game. Through comes Papadopoulos, able to dispossess Ibini. Now the back pass to Hilary Beale.
For Western United, put themselves in an excellent position across the regular season. 9 games they scored first, and they went on to win all 9 of those games. They have not lost when scoring first across the regular season.
Well, it's a stat off here at the moment in the commentary box. Again, finals can sometimes see those sort of things fly out the window. We got an utterly chaotic game yesterday, which, to be fair, was only 1-0 at the 55-minute mark, and then Melina Ayres popped up with a 15-minute hat-trick. Melbourne City were able to wrestle their way back and equalise in the 97th minute. Here's a through ball. Hawkesby nearly controlled it. Flag was up. 4 offside, but there may have been just a shade of handball too, and Hawkesby appreciates the initiative.
That's how quickly Sydney FC can turn things around. Ball over the top was the right idea, and again Hawkesby just looking to hold a run. Gee, it is close. But to yesterday's fixture, Teo, what an excellent match that was for the neutral, for the fans of the league. End-to-end stuff, and to have that many goals scored, it was such an exciting one to watch.
And it has become a characteristic of the league. We saw with Perth Glory's 4-3 win against Melbourne City. That was 1-0 at about the 68-minute mark, and then exploded with an avalanche of goals. And quite frankly, a slow burner like this one, you might just start filing it in the same sort of category. Don't go anywhere. We are only 32 minutes in. Throw here dealt with by McLean. Now Vine. There's always goals in a game when Courtney Vine is at large. And she skips through the challenge of Mel Taranto, and the referee is not going to let that slide. And Mel Taranto quick to leave the scene, and the referee is not reaching for a card just yet.
Well, the referee looked to play advantage there, just to see if Courtney Vine was able to skip her way through. Just that trailing leg from Mel Taranto slowed things down.
Lucky not to be booked, Grace?
I think she's probably lucky Courtney Vine didn't go to ground, in which case she may have received a yellow.
Sydney FC looking to advance the ball, but Mel Taranto is in position. Rolling it back to Beale, shanks the clearance, and Sydney FC are going to take over possession. And through comes Rule, the right back getting forward, creating the overload. Abini's there for the header and puts it out for a goal kick, and that's relief for Western, because that would have been a heart-in-mouth moment for Hilary Beale.
It was a lovely delivery from Charlie Rule on that favoured right foot, but she'd made a great overlapping run. Abini unmarked on the far post, and she just couldn't redirect that header downwards.
Princess Abini, I mentioned that she has 7 for the season, 25 and 110, but that strike rate also affected by having been a sub in about half those 110 appearances. So we see the activity areas, the middle third, as you might expect, starting to prevail, but very dominant Sydney FC at their attacking end of the pitch more so. Dos Santos here committing the foul. An incredible story, Indiana Dos Santos, just 15 years old. Her older sister, I say older, she's only 17, Janea Dos Santos, played earlier in the season, but it's Indiana who's been able to win the starting spot. They both drive up from Wollongong to train with Sydney FC, the local paper down there. Very proud of those two, hoping that they can follow in the footsteps of Caitlin Ford and Mackenzie Hawkesby as other Wollongong products that have gone up to the A-League Women's. And as the ball goes out for a goal kick, let's throw it down to the sidelines and Neve Owens.
Thanks, Tay. I've got Teresa Polias here next to me, and T, you've noticed that physicality starting to really pay dividends for Western.
Definitely. Western know that they're probably overall not going to dominate the possession today against a team like Sydney FC. So they've stepped up their physicality. Their goal shows that. Taranto wins it off Sarah Hunter in the middle. They play Carly Johnson on the wing, and superb cross. And Hannah Keane, she's just unstoppable in the box.
And it feels, Teo, like Sydney FC have been rattled a little bit by that goal.
Thanks, Neve. I'll come back to you in just a second at the end of this phase of play, because I have a question for Teresa Polias. As we see Emma Rovers here, sending a long ball out. Carly Johnson is not giving up on it here, even though Tobin has the position. And Johnson right to press. And eventually the ball goes out with a deflection off Johnson for a Sydney throw. Neve, is T getting ready to go and just deliver the halftime team talk to Sydney FC down there?
I think she's ready to run out and play, actually, Teo. She's got some sneakers on, not her football boots, unfortunately. How are you feeling, T?
I'm just going to pause here. I'm feeling the nerves here, and look, the game has changed tides at the moment. Sydney need to either match Western United physically, or this game could blow out.
Wow. Well, former Matilda, former Sydney FC captain Teresa Polias, until only a month ago, the game's record holder in the A-League Women's as well, watching down there at pitch level. 10 minutes until half-time, Grace. Plenty of time for these two teams to affect the game without having to wait for the half-time team talk from the two coaches.
Plenty of time yet, plenty of football to be played. And Ante Juric at this point, he won't be panicking. We did speak about the chances that Sydney FC have created. They don't need to rush things forward, and we spoke about this just a few minutes earlier, but they will be frustrated when they start to rue more missed chances as the match wears on.
Western had a player down there, but they're happy to keep attacking because they like the look of how things are unfolding. You see Papadopoulos just wondering, do I put the ball out for a throw or not? Western have decided to retain possession, and this is them stringing passes together in the attacking half really for the first time in the first half. And then we see a foul from Taranto to put an end to that phase of play. Sarah Hunter back up. Diagonal ball here. Rule has Vine on the outside, but Angie Beard knew exactly where the ball might be going. And Beard herself off and running with a bit of space to exploit. Keane in the middle, and Charlotte McLean is not going to let the ball arrive. Textbook defending to block it away. And now running down the right side. Vine, Lowe, not able to drag a defender. Vine, though, leaves it behind for Lowe. Dos Santos in the pocket. Still Dos Santos. Rober's got a boot in. And now McLean has never scored in the A-League Women's and will not trouble Hilary Beale with that attempt, albeit a shot on target.
There's a slightly awkward one there for Beale. Spent plenty of time in the air just as it dropped down to the grateful hands of Hilary Beale, who has been fairly active in this first passage of play, this first half.
Rule. You see the foul count there, Grace. We've spoken about the physicality. Only 5 each, though, almost at the 40-minute mark. It's not an exorbitant count, but certainly you can have a physical game without everything being adjudicated a foul. Here's a classic example, a real pile-up of bodies, and the referee hasn't needed to reach for the whistle. Princess Abini is the one that prevails. And now is going to show a bit of speed here, but, well, Mackenzie Hawkesby wasn't obliging the initiative of Abini. The back pass is a little bit dangerous, and Beale has to send that one out over the touchline.
Well, I don't mind the free-flowing football, to your point, Teo, about physical challenges, bodies getting stuck in, particularly in the midfield. Referee Georgia Ghirardello very happy just to watch things play out. You'd have to say Western United started a little more physical of the two sides, but Sydney FC have really grown into the challenge and into the game, given it just as good as they're getting.
Papadopoulos. Down the line the ball goes. Abini. Johnson, you can see losing her feet there, was able to scramble a right foot to get it back to a teammate, but Sydney FC have the ball now, albeit briefly. Through comes Mel Taranto. Oh, nearly gave it away. Low. And Dos Santos helping out. Sydney FC get the ball back in a promising position. Courtney Vine against Angie Beard. Goes for the burst of speed. Vine, the chop step inside. And Mel Taranto stops the cutback from arriving at Dos Santos. And that was vital defending Keane with an arm bar on McLean. And given McLean's facial injury, that's perhaps going to exacerbate the contact. She's hurt. Keane's been booked a yellow card here. And Charlotte McLean, who's only just come back from surgery on a fractured cheek. Hannah Keane's protesting her innocence, but safe to say this has wound up a few of McLean's Sydney teammates here.
Yeah, a really distressing one for Charlotte McLean. Hannah Keane's just looked to use her body. She's definitely a taller player than McLean is, and it's that trailing left arm that's just caught McLean right on that cheekbone, and scary for a player who's just come back from, exactly as you mentioned, the cheek fracture.
Well, she's really distressed, Charlotte McLean. Hannah Keane is going to walk over to the sideline here as Western are huddling up. Let's go back to this opportunity for Courtney Vine.
This is a great cutback from Courtney Vine. Angie Beard has had to work hard to try and keep step with her. But clever by Vine. On a few occasions putting it in on her right, but on this one cutting back in to her left.
Sydney FC only have one recognised defender on the bench, Deborah Ann Delaharp, who had deputised for Charlotte McLean. The thumbs up from the trainer here, though, would suggest that McLean's going to be able to continue, which is good news. There's a look at the Sydney FC sideline. Delaharp sitting in between the backup goalkeeper Katie Offer and Madison Haley, not getting up to warm up, so that would suggest that McLean is going to continue. But there's Delaharp, the recently capped Republic of Ireland international, even though she's Sydney born and raised. It's not going to be called upon just yet.
Well, good to see McLean back to her feet. And you wonder in that moment if, as much as anything, just the shock and the fear that having just returned from that injury would just be a little bit scary as much as anything. But I don't think Hannah Keane meant anything malicious in that challenge.
Well, here's the resulting free kick, and as half-time draws a little bit closer, Sydney FC would love to go in level here. Rule might be the obvious aerial target as Nat Tobin lifts it high, and Hannah Keane, who gave the free kick away, is first to defend it and head it clear. It sits up now for Cern to come through and win the header. Adriana Taranto, Carly Johnson, a couple of first-time passes, crisscrossing over the field. Vlanich inside, and the referee with a belated whistle. And now it's a card each, and Nat Tobin, I mentioned she was sent off last time these two teams played. She's going to have to watch her step, and let's not forget, if you get sent off today and your team wins, you're suspended for the grand final. So Hannah Keane and Nat Tobin both have to be careful from here.
It was a crunching challenge from Nat Tobin. Sitting on the yellow card, she's got a lot of football to be played here, and it was 2 yellows that saw her receive that red the last time these two teams played on the 5th of March.
Well, that could be an extra factor to consider in this game. Cern, free kick, looking for Sydney Cummings. It's an up and under, not cleared initially. Tobin, it's still in shooting range for Mel Taranto. Keane and Cummings almost got in each other's way. Adriana Taranto and Abini defending from the front and can launch a counter-attack for Sydney FC. Abini able to cut around Taranto, and Abini's away. Streaming forward here, Princess Abini, playing the pass to Rachel Lowe, and wasn't able to tee up Mackenzie Hawkesby. There was just no energy in the little layoff. The crowd were onto it. Lowe just couldn't execute. And now Dos Santos trying to spin out of trouble. Ball glued to her feet here initially. Still Dos Santos finds Rule. Rule whips in across. It flashes off the head of Papadopoulos. Courtney Vine coming in from the left flank where we've not seen her so far. And then the long shot sliding off the boot of Sarah Hunter. But a bit of a winger swap there, Grace, and Stacey Papadopoulos, who nearly made it to half-time without having to defend Courtney Vine. Well, surprise, here she is.
A real flurry of chances here for Sydney FC. Certainly feels as though their momentum is building, and I'm sure Ante Juric would love this half just to push on a little longer, because it does feel as though the tempo has lifted in their favour. But Courtney Vine, just a bit of a frown on her face there, a little bit frustrated perhaps.
It's a very late point in the half to swap wingers. But maybe these last 30 seconds plus stoppage time, it could be the tactical change that Sydney FC need to get them back level before the break. Here's Western and Rovers in the meantime. Carly Johnson able to win a throw. From the Northern Beaches, Carly Johnson, a Manly United product. Played a handful of games as a cameo sub for Sydney FC. That was enough to get into Leah Blaney's under-20 team that went to Costa Rica for the under-20 Women's World Cup.
The fourth official has announced there'll be a minimum of 3 minutes of time.
3 additional minutes to end the first half. Here's Keane. Able to bring the ball under control. Went for the reverse pass, but Fenton intercepted. Knew that Carly Johnson was out there. Taranto consolidates. Now Cern to Emma Robers. Not showing any of the ill effects of that ankle knock from 3 weeks ago. Here's Johnson cutting inside. It's Carly Johnson shooting. And blocked immediately by Fenton. Taranto. Not able to find her twin, and away comes Hunter. Princess Abini can't keep the ball in. Of course, the winger swap means that it's not just Vine to the left, it's Abini over to the right as well.
Abini, who's had a really productive season for Sydney FC this year. Not only a great goal scorer, a number of assists she's provided across the team as well. Coming up in some really big moments for the Sky Blues.
Oh, a giveaway here from Beale. And Rachel Lowe, can she capitalise? Sydney coming scrambling back, and Rachel Lowe puts it just wide. Well, Hilary Beale's distribution has been a bit iffy today, but Rachel Lowe has let Western United off the hook.
A huge moment there for Rachel Lowe for Sydney FC to go into the sheds, 1 apiece at half-time. Hilary Beale with a poor pass. Has tried to slide that one a little bit narrow to Sydney Cummins. Rachel Lowe isolated up top, but can't do more, can't force a save out of Beale. She's pulled that one wide.
Well, it's the pressure of finals environment, the initial mistake from Beale, and then Lowe not able to hit the bottom corner. I think Hilary Beale needs half-time to arrive, just get in the rooms. Mark Torcaso himself, the head coach, is a former goalkeeper, so will no doubt be able to provide some very direct coaching to Hilary Beale to try and calm her down. In the meantime, Lowe wants to make amends, but Beale is able to grasp on and just dive on the ball and milk a few seconds off the clock.
Just a message to her teammates in front of her to relax. I'm sure she needs that as much as any of them. Happy to see that one onto her chest and just take a few moments as this first half ticks away.
Seconds to go. Is there one more attack in Sydney FC? Abini looks up at Angie Beard, who hasn't followed Courtney Vine over to the opposite flank. That's where the ball might be going right now, and Stacey Papadopoulos jumps out to intercept the pass. Adriana Taranto brings the ball under her control, and it's met by the halftime whistle. And 45 minutes into this qualifying final, the new kids on the block in their inaugural season, Western United, thanks to the Golden Boot leader, Hannah Keane, have 1 foot in the grand final. But as we know, these finals games are filled with twists and turns. Don't go anywhere, because there's so much more to the story in this one. Because at halftime, it's Sydney FC 0, Western United 1. And Hannah Keane with that half-volleyed goal in the 27th minute, maybe just going back into her shell a little bit after the foul on McLean. Let's go down to Hannah Keane, who's with Neve Owens now.
Hannah Keane, a goal to the good at halftime. It looked like you guys had a really clear game plan and you stuck to it.
Yeah, you know, we've won a game against them, we've lost a game against them. We knew it's not going to be easy, but we have a game plan, and if we play it well, then we know we can win.
How important is the physical battle as part of that game plan?
It's really tough. You know, that was our goal, was to go into tackles hard at the start and kind of make them afraid. So I think we're doing pretty good about it, but we can always do a little bit better too.
Good luck in the second half. Hannah Keane, the goal scorer from the first half here at Allianz Stadium, joining us. It is Western United 1, Sydney FC 0 at halftime. We'll have the halftime show next, right here on 10 Play and Paramount Plus.
Tactical, moving big, impacting radical. Always maximum and past the capital. Never rational, this talent matching. Yo, got a problem. It's confidence, so get it, then how to grow it. Taking every opportunity is showing. Ain't about to let an unbeliever blow it.
Jamie, wave to the camera. School holiday time. What's Jamie getting up to in school holidays at the moment?
On the soccer pitch a lot this holidays, pretty much every day.
Sounds like he's using the time wisely. Future Sydney FC player, no doubt. Jamie, who is your favourite Sydney FC?
It is half-time here at Allianz Stadium, and it is the visitors with the lead. Hannah Keane, our Golden Boot winner from the regular season, scores first for Western United, beats Jada Wyman in goal, and it is Western United with a 1-0 lead at half-time right here on Allianz Stadium. My name is Neve Owens. Welcome to the Halftime Show. I'm here alongside Sydney FC legend Teresa Polias. T, it felt like Sydney FC came out of the block strong, but Western had a really clear game plan.
Spot on, Neve. Sydney FC came out strong. They dominated possession. They dominated territory. But Western knew what they needed to do, and they started to bully Sydney FC, and it paid off.
Let's have a look at the stats from that first half. We can see that it is, in the all-important one, Western United with the lead. But in terms of shots on goal and shots on target, T, Sydney FC creating plenty of opportunities.
So many opportunities, and this is Sydney FC in finals. They create so much and at times don't finish them. So they need to change that in order to come back in the second half and win this game.
Let's have a look at the all-important moment from the first half. It started in midfield. Sydney FC had the ball, and once again, that physicality of Western United paying dividends.
Absolutely. Taranto bullies Sarah Hunter there. They unleash Carly Johnson down the wing. She overlaps Hannah Keane, to be fair, who then puts in a superb cross, and Hannah Keane in that box is just unstoppable. That's what she thrives on. What a goal.
It was an incredible moment, wasn't it? We heard from Hannah Keane just before the break that coming out in that really tough, aggressive fashion had been part of Western United's game plan, and that was the turnover moment that led to the counter-attack.
Absolutely. Western United have come out tactically very, very smart. They know they weren't going to dominate possession and territory, and this is their game. Bully the other team, get a chance and score.
Let's have a look at the chances from that first 45. You'll see plenty of sky blue action with the ball, and Courtney Vine, the Matilda, she's here, she's back in action, and she's making that pace count.
She is, she really is. And here's Carly Johnson again, that superb cross. Great tackle there, and they earned a corner. Here's Courtney Vine. She takes on Angie Beard and releases Charlie Rule for a dangerous cross, and Princess Avini just couldn't get under that and couldn't direct it on goal.
It was interesting to see late in the half, Princess Avini and Courtney Vine actually swapped sides, because Court was having plenty of success down this right edge throughout the half, using her pace, running at players.
She was, but I think Angie Beard was up to that task, and she was trying to get into Courtney Vine's head, and I think it was a really smart change for Ante to swap sides, because Princess Avini after that was combining really well with Rachel Lowe, who had a great opportunity here that just went wide.
They've also got Madison Haley sitting there on the bench, leaning forward throughout that half, watching the play unfold. Is that an obvious change that Ante may look to make early in the second half?
What a player to have on the bench. She'll be raring to go, and every time she's come on for Sydney, she's done great work and scored goals.
One of the key players in that first half is Charlotte McLean. She's back. She started tonight. She'd been out with a cheek injury. She's had surgery. You played against her, Sydney Olympic up against Sydney FC. She played 30 minutes off the bench, and starting tonight, she has been immense. She is such a smart footballer, team.
She really is. She's the brains of Sydney FC at the back there. She's picked up exactly where she left off after having a few weeks off. She intercepts passes. She's great in one-on-one situations, and Sydney FC have absolutely missed her.
It's incredible how many times she reads the play to be in the right position to intercept the ball.
Her stats don't lie, Neve. 100% of duels won. That is immense.
There was a moment here late in that first half where she copped a knock to the left cheek, which is the cheek that had been broken. I was really worried, T. It happened just in front of us, and she was really distressed in this moment. Do you think ultimately it was a case of fear, knowing what she had been through to get back and feeling that contact in the same spot?
Absolutely. You know, what she went through with her cheek surgery was traumatic. So having, you know, that trailing arm from Hannah Keane connecting her, she would have been really, really shocked and worried. And we were all shocked and worried on the side too.
Yeah, it was brilliant to see her get back up and be able to play on. She is key for Sydney FC. Gigi had stat of the half in that first 45, and it is that Western United have not lost a game this season when they've taken the lead. So how does Sydney FC change that tonight?
That's a really telling stat. And look, anything can happen in finals. They're a different ball game, but Sydney need to come out with physicality, and they need to make something of their territory and their possession in their final third.
Sydney FC will be running towards the Cove in the second half. They'll have that home ground advantage, and Western haven't played at big stadiums like this that often this season. So can Sydney FC make that count?
Definitely. The Cove are behind Hillary Beale now, so they need to make that count. The crowd needs to be their 12th player today.
Second half is just moments away here at Allianz Stadium. We've talked about the bench for Sydney FC. Looking at the bench for Western, are they happy? Do they continue as they are with that physical presence really working for them, or do they look to make changes?
Look, I think it's business as usual going back in. They're doing the job. They're doing really well, and I think they'll just make changes if they need to.
Remembering that the winner here today books their ticket straight to the decider. The loser today will play Melbourne Victory next Saturday. A whole heap to play for here at Allianz Stadium. It is Western United with a 1-goal lead. Time for a very quick break before the second half kicks off here on 10 Play and Paramount Plus. Up next, you'll hear from your commentators once again, Teo Palizzeri and Grace Gill.
Mes chers amis, rejoignez-moi dans le monde merveilleux de l'amour.
Welcome back to the Liberty A-League major semi-final, the qualifying final for the decider. At halftime, it's Western United 1, leading Sydney FC 0. Jada Wyman there, called into action. How much work will Jada Wyman have to do between now and the end of today's game? Of course, we had penalties yesterday for the first time in 7 years in the Liberty A-League. Are we about to see consecutive penalty shootouts in as many days? That would require Sydney FC to, at a minimum, score an equaliser. And as both teams are back out on the pitch for the start of the second half, former Matilda and W League winner Grace Gill joins me. Grace, we heard from Teresa Polias during the halftime break about some of the subs and some of the tactical changes. Where do you see this game going in the second 45?
Well, for Western United, they're going to want to carry on into this second 45 minutes with the same kind of physicality, because ultimately that paid off in the first half. But look, I wouldn't be surprised if we're soon to see a change. Ante Juric having a chat to substitute Madison Haley, so the leading goal scorer for Sydney this year. So I dare say she'll play a big part in this next half.
There's the Western United bench as well. Rachel Lowe started at centre forward, had that great chance for an equaliser for Sydney FC, but shot it across the face. And at kick-off to start the second half, it's Hannah Keane, the golden boot from the home and away season. Her goal is the difference between the teams. Are Western United 45 minutes away from the grand final, or will Sydney FC stage a comeback? There's been tension and real edge in this game so far. It tends to only go up a notch in the second half of these finals. Liberty A-League delivering once again. Sydney FC through Princess Abini here, trying to get moving at the start of the half, but Emma Rovers will come through for Western United and feed it out to the goal scorer Keane. No one in the box just yet, so she'll hold up the ball. Hannah Keane waiting for teammates to arrive. Does she go herself, Keane? And on the half volley, Jada Wyman holds on to the first shot.
Hannah Keane's done well to wrap her boot around that shot. She had very close attention from Charlotte McLean, as she did for a lot of that first 45 minutes too. Quite the battle ensuing between those two in this semi-final.
So we have another look here. We were speculating during the halftime break that Hannah Keane would have probably felt quite horrible about the trailing arm that led to Charlotte McLean getting that knock to the face. So how important is it for her to switch back on and remain in the moment and focused on the game at hand rather than feeling too guilty about what happened?
Oh, yeah, I think she did. I think she did feel pretty bad about that contact with her arm. And it is important, because sometimes as a player, if you accidentally hurt an opposition, just sit back into your shell for a little while. And Hannah Keane, she can't afford to do that this afternoon.
Pass intercepted here. Taranto, a neat little shimmy Mel Taranto out to Carly Johnson, who laid off the assist for the only goal of the game. Johnson now going to work, lifting across, and TJ Vlanic, who has a headed goal this season against the Wellington Phoenix. Not able to steer that onto the target, but has hit the back of the net 3 times this campaign. TJ Vlanic only had 1 goal in 55 games coming into the season, so she's definitely been able to add another string to her bow.
She has. She's been immense for Western United. TJ Vlanic, 3 goals, 3 assists as well. We mentioned a little bit about Western United's aerial threat. 6 goals, headed goals this season.
Vine, block tackle from Mel Taranto. Dos Santos, wrapped up by Alana Cern. Out of the tangle of legs, it's Rovers who emerges with the ball. Johnson puts it out in front of Stacey Papadopoulos, and the line may have won. Papadopoulos not able to convince the referee that it's a Western throw. Instead, it's going Sydney FC's way. Nat Tobin, the Sydney FC player, on a yellow card from the first half, so we'll have to tread carefully here in the second 45. Hawkesby, back to Tobin. Now Charlie Rule, the right back, in the attacking half, looping it in, hoping for Rachel Lowe. And even though that would have been a tempting header for a strike partner to run onto, there's no one else up top. Lowe gives the thumbs up.
Well, it was really the drive-in run from Nat Tobin into the middle of the park for Sydney FC that put Western United's shape all out of kilter, and that early ball in from Charlie Rule was delightful. A little awkward here from Hilary Beale, just struggling to get a set of clean hands on that ball.
Are you surprised we haven't seen Madison Haley introduced already? I did flag in the first half that she's been on limited minutes coming back from a hip injury, but that hasn't stopped her being a goal-scoring force, even in her substitute appearances.
No, not entirely surprised. Ante Juric tends to look for a substitute closer to the 60-minute mark and asks of a good 30 minutes from his players, so I wouldn't be surprised if Madison Haley is in fact the first sub we see at around that point.
Western being pressed hard here by Sydney FC, and Rovers, perhaps reflective of the pressure, just scuffs the ball out for a Sydney throw. Credit to Dos Santos, who really putting the heat on. There is Madison Haley, the American, out of Stanford. Here's the shot from Dos Santos, sliding across the face and out for a goal kick. So that's Sydney FC bench. Madison Haley and Rolla Badawir, both strikers. Deborah Andelahab, who can play anywhere across the defence, and Shay Holman, a midfielder. And there is Shay Holman in the middle of your screen there. Sister of both Corey and Jake in the A-League men's. Fantastic footballing family. So you see the goal kick here from Hilary Beale. Johnson holding off Fenton, spinning into trouble though. Hawkesby picked her pocket, and now Abini, early ball. Rachel Lowe, where's Courtney Vine, just lurking at the top of the box. Lowe twisting and turning and can't find a teammate with the pass. Papadopoulos almost coughed the ball up to Abini, but Carly Johnson made it work. And both teams arguing over whose throw. Sydney FC quick to act. It's their throw, and the ball is live at the feet of Rachel Lowe, squaring to the top of the box. And Taranto was switched on. Hannah Keane looked over, able to get back to her feet. The ball's with Dos Santos in the meantime. Carly Johnson goes in and fouls. 5 second half minutes ticked by. And for those of you who may have joined us late or during the halftime break, so we have another foul here, Grace. Sydney FC were absolutely possession and territory dominant for the first 15 minutes of the first half. So they would love to reprise that here at the start of the second half.
Well, they were. They looked well in control of possession, passes. That first 20 minutes or so was completely played in Sydney FC's attacking half. As the half wore on, Western United just wrestled back a little bit of that momentum. And of course, the goal too from Hannah Keane somewhat took the wind out of Sydney FC's sails.
Clash of bodies here. Vlanich was wiped out by Charlie Rule. Referee said incidental contact. Play continues. Vlanich stayed grounded while Rule was leaping. McLean coming across to make it a 1-on-2. Vlanich. And now Adriana Taranto out into space. Vlanich trying to make ground, but Rule is there, and with a little deflection off the shins of TJ Vlanich, that will be a Sydney FC goal kick. Here's another look at the collision, Grace.
Yeah, just shoulder to shoulder. Vlanich is calling for the foul. The arm across the shoulder there from Rule.
Abini, diagonal ball. It's going to find its way to Hawkesby. Blocked immediately though by Angie Beard. Western defending with all they've got. Papadopoulos boots the ball away. Keane trying to head it to her own advantage. Tobin, Keane charging through. No one for Western in the penalty area though. And so Keane will hold things up. Now the cavalry arrives. And it beats all and sundry in the box. And slides through the area. Rule just jogging out to the sideline here. And, well, they'd want it to be a Sydney throw. Indeed it is. Good judgment from Rule. It's going to prompt the first sub of the game. And Madison Haley, 8 goals in 12 appearances this season, is going to come off for the 15-year-old Indiana Dos Santos. So the first finals experience for the youngster. I think Ante Juric, he'll be saying on the sidelines, all right, now we get serious. Here comes Madison Haley. Plan B is activated. Grace, this is going to change the game.
Hugely so. I think the complexion of bringing a player like Madison Haley into the fray, not just her experience, but what she's done in the way of goal scoring across the season. Indiana Dos Santos do have to pay credit to the young player, just 15 years old. What a shift.
Courtney Vine is away down the right, just stops and decelerates, assesses the options. Rule has got forward, Still rule. Sydney Cummings able to strip the ball away. Great tackle, a stand-up tackle there from Sydney Cummings. Keane uncorks a diagonal ball, but Fenton heads it down to Abini. And Abini turning central. Rovers went to ground. Abini kept her feet and kept the ball. Rule. Pass is intercepted. Angie Beard. Angie Beard looking to repel. Out to Vlanich on the left. McLean out of the equation. It's a great underneath run from Angie Beard. Now Keane. It spills to Carly Johnson. And Johnson bides her time, invites the attention of defenders. Back to Adriana Taranto. And then it's cleared away by Tobin. Up comes Papadopoulos. It's a cross shot. These can be dangerous. And even though Jada Wyman ended up in the back of the net, the ball didn't.
It almost looked like a slight mishit from Papadopoulos. I think she was going for the cross. And that one definitely caught Jada Wyman just a couple of steps off her line.
Well, that was spectacular. And even though Wyman rattled the back of the net, the ball had already gone over the crossbar, much to her relief, and that of Sydney FC. Carly Johnson goes back to work. And on the wide expanses of Allianz Stadium and into the near post, Wyman is able to collect easily. Hunter chips it out to the right side. Courtney Vine with Madison Haley now standing at centre forward. Rachel Lowe has dropped deeper into midfield. Haley combining with Vine. No one's as quick as Vine. She's got no one to cross to. Cuts it back now. Haley's there. Haley holds off the defenders and shoots across the face.
And that's the kind of instant impact a player like Madison Haley can have to this game. The connecting play between her and Courtney Vine. And you said it, Teo, but no one is as fast as Courtney Vine. She had a little glance up to see no sky blue shirts. The only option was to cut it back. Emma Rovers had to be tight to the mark, and she was. But Madison Haley, she was first to the ball, just couldn't quite get that shot on target.
Let's go down to ground level. Neve Owens.
It was remarkable. We see Courtney Vine use that pace at an international level, and here in the A-League Women's, just how fast she is down that edge. Another Matilda that we were speaking to in the pre-game, guys, Chloe Legarzo, missing for Western tonight. But interestingly, she shared with us that if they win tonight, if they get that direct pass through to the grand final, she's backing herself in to be fit and ready to go on grand final day, and that ain't a bad inclusion.
Pass underneath from Haley to Lowe. Hawkesby makes a run. Lowe took on Cummings, and the referee does say corner kick coming up. Western protest, but it'll be a Sydney FC set piece. See the earpieces in, so the referees don't have to shout to each other across the pitch.
Again, just that connecting play from Madison Haley. She's made quite an impact already. Good physical presence in the middle of the field.
So Mackenzie Hawkesby not able to get much going with the corner kicks that Sydney FC had in the first half. Is it a different story here with Madison Haley to aim for? Cummings up for the header and falls kindly. Adriana Taranto. McLean leans in. And a kick across the body on Mel Taranto by Lowe leads to a free kick. And we've got two players down here for Western United, because it's not just Mel Taranto. It looks like TJ Vlanich is down after some of the byplay defending the corner kick as well.
Concerning moments here for Western United. Physical defending from Angie Beard.
Jeez.
Just the body from Nat Tobin.
Angie Beard's got to be super careful defending like that, doesn't she?
Yeah, look, she does. She does. With the arm wrapped around Haley. And it was the physical contest. Nat Tobin up against TJ Vlanich. Vlanich just came off worse for wear. But it's also Mel Taranto still on the ground, just slowly getting to her feet now, having cleared that ball from the corner.
Well, in this break, let's throw it back down to Neve Owens, who has Teresa Polias as well.
We've seen, T, that impact that Madison Haley has had already. Ante Juric called her on early in the second half. What is it that makes her such a dominant, powerful player?
Yeah, instant impact player. Madison Haley, she's got everything, the whole package. She can hold the ball up well, she can score goals, and another great feature she has in her game is she injects her creative attacking teammates into the game really, really well.
Do you know who else she's getting involved? The Cove behind that goal. They are pumped to see her out there a part of this contest.
Thank you, Neve. There's a look at the fans who've really given a great ambient to this game. Of course, don't forget, you can get your tickets now for the grand final as well. Sunday, the 30th of April. Here's McLean. Out to Kirsty Fenton. Mark Torcaso and Ante Juric, the coaches, at the edge of their technical areas. It's not quite Jeff Hopkins yesterday. He was really riding every kick of the game. He might get more vocal as the game gets on. But the bigger the crowds, the harder it is for those instructions to carry across the pitch to the players, let's not forget. See the shot count there. Sydney FC certainly in front, but not on the one count that it matters at the moment. And Grace, Western United will be happy that, again, they've absorbed for 15 minutes, nowhere near as much pressure created as the first half.
They've handled that pressure really well. They've also just managed to see out a period of time in which, across their regular season, Western United were the most susceptible to concede, which is in that 15 minutes after half-time. And as the clock ticks around to the 60-minute mark, perhaps a sigh of relief.
Well, now can they get some ideas of a second goal of their own? Hannah Keane. A quick cross is deflected. McLean able to volley away. Only as far as Angie Beard, though. Beard down the left side. Hannah Keane would love to be crossing to a clone of herself in the middle. Instead, is hoping for Rovers, and that one too close to the keeper, and Jada Wyman is able to rise up and pluck it out of the air. An attempt to launch a quick counter-attack. Papadopoulos read the ball really well in flight and now brings it under her control. Out to the flank, and Carly Johnson. The return pass is there for Papadopoulos. And now Robins. Space was closed down quickly. Ball breaks into the midfield, and Lowe is able to roll it back to Tobin. Sydney will reset right down on the last line of defence. Angie Beard made the ball her goal, has wiped out Charlie Rule. The referee's not reaching for the whistle, so Rule pops back up, but hits the pass a little skinny, and Angie Beard is able to deal with it.
Angie Beard, a no-nonsense type of player. We saw her in the first half. Some really physical challenges, some crunching tackles up against Courtney Vine. And she didn't hold back in that one up against Charlie Rule as well.
Alana Cern, long ball right down the middle, over the head of Tobin. And Jada Wyman is drawn out to the edge of her penalty area. Tobin. Now Kirsty Fenton. Space to work with Fenton. We haven't seen much of this today. Her breaking into the attacking half. Madison Haley now. Nearly ran down the ball and just got a little bit quick on her. Princess Abini. Turns and faces Abini. Drifting central. And now Courtney Vine. Vine on the tight angle. Was looking for a cross to Hawkesby. Instead wins a corner kick.
That's when Sydney are looking dangerous, when they stretch the field across the middle of the park and draw it out wide. Courtney Vine, space just starts to open up a little bit.
4 corners to 1, you can see there. Second corner of the half for Mackenzie Hawkesby. Madison Haley waiting beyond the far post. Hawkesby, a drifter. Haley meets the ball. And Hilary Beale is able to dive on top of it before Princess Abini could get another little touch on it. And Alana Cern has taken exception to something Princess Abini did there in challenging for the ball. Abini's not having any of the verbal, though.
It's well contested in the air. And after the second half has gotten underway, the first shot on target from Sydney FC that they've registered.
Maybe indicative of what's to come. Hawkesby to Lowe. Underhit pass. Angie Beard stops it arriving with Courtney Vine. Sliced out. Here's another look at the afters. Alana Cern and Princess Abini. There's a lot more chat coming out of Alana Cern than Princess Abini, who just didn't want to bar her, but just wanted to run off and resume the game, really. Here's Madison Haley now. And brought to ground by Taranto right on the edge of the penalty area. It's a yellow card out of the pocket for the professional foul. And that's the sort of panic that Madison Haley can create.
She has come off second best from that challenge. Mel Taranto with a lunging challenge just outside the 18-yard box, and she was quick to point to the fact that it was just outside the 18-yard box.
So Mel Taranto joins Hannah Keane on a yellow card for Western United. It's a free kick right at the edge of the area, but Grace, let's take another look. Sydney Cummings couldn't foul, so Mel Taranto very much did.
Just trying to get a challenge in against the strength of Madison Haley. There's that flailing leg. Haley had Taranto for speed, for strength, and was one touch away from launching in for an attack on goal. Taranto, with a last-ditch challenge, has taken out the legs of Haley.
This is very reminiscent of a set piece that Sydney FC scored from against Perth Glory in the penultimate game of the home and away season, where Madison Haley was able to crash the pack on a short-range cross and head in. Sarah Hunter, don't rule out the direct shot on goal, but she's going to keep Western United guessing here. At the moment, Haley doesn't have anyone marking her either. Here comes the free kick. Hunter does shoot direct and drops it straight into the gloves of Hilary Beale.
Comfortable save there for Hilary Beale. Straight into her arms. Gratefully, no doubt. But you're right, Madison Haley just lurking at what it would have been a far post run. That free kick a little too square, straight into Beale.
Adriano Taranto, Western United looking to flip the field in the blink of an eye. Vlanich. And Wyman's able to catch that one at full stretch, but no real Western attackers in the vicinity. The game's a little bit more stretched. Abini. Papadopoulos is showing Abini the line, and so Abini accepts. And now wants to cut back inside to the middle. And is able to take the game on here, Princess Abini. It's a promising run, but the pass was underhit at the end. It's been a little bit of that. Both teams maybe struggling with the pitch, hitting crossfield balls. Now Rachel Lowe. Courtney Vine. Back to Lowe. Rule getting forward to support the attack. Sarah Hunter. And now the overload happens on the left too. Tobin is going to shoot. Nat Tobin. And just drifts that out towards the cove. Goal kick. And at the 67-minute mark, we're going to see subs for both teams. Rolla Butterweir, the American who was the gold medalist in NPL New South Wales last season, is going to come on. Western are going to make changes too. Philippine international Jacqueline Savicki and the Australian-Canadian dual citizen Danielle Steer are both going to be coming on. And that yellow card for Mel Taranto, they're not taking any further risks on her. She's going to leave the game. And Savicki, this will be like for like in central midfield. And it looks as though Emma Rover's number is up, and this is perhaps reflective of Courtney Vine coming back from international duty, maybe a bit of jet lag, but also we saw a cramp at the end of the Matildas game against England. She's off. Rolla Butterweir, who has one goal this season, is on.
I'm sure it's not an exit to the game that Courtney Vine would have liked. Did look just a little disgruntled as she came off the pitch. But understandably so. She's had a really heavy volume of work over the last couple of weeks with the Matildas.
And apologies, it was TJ Vlanich who came off. I saw the number 11 go up and thought it was Emma Rovers for Western United, but in fact it was the 11 of Vine making way. And so Danielle Steer has come on for TJ Vlanich out there, maybe still suffering the ill effects of that knock from earlier in the half. So fresh legs for both teams. No more Courtney Vine, but Rolla Butterweir is a different proposition, combining with Madison Haley out there as Sydney FC search for an equaliser. Fenton. Now Charlotte McLean. Charlie Rule. We haven't seen much of this. Sydney FC knocking the ball around their backline. They have been very proactive chasing the game. And that pass is not what they were hoping for. As we go down to the sideline, Neve Owens, I understand Teresa Polias there has got a little bit of insight into how Ante Juric prepared Rola Badawia for this semi-final.
She sure does, and she rates Badawia as well, Teo. We're just watching Courtney Vine, who we were assuming it was a real load management issue, her being brought off. She's got some ice strapped to that right calf by the looks of things. But Badawia, T, you rate her as a 9. She's playing on the wing at the moment, but she's played for your team, Sydney Olympic.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to recruit her in the friendly over the Easter break, and what a player she is. Always wanting the ball, very confident, able to hold that ball up and not shy to take a shot when she needs to.
So Madison Haley owning the middle of the park at the moment, Teo, and Badawia out on the edge.
Here's Sarah Hunter. Sawicki, the new sub for Western United, just getting her way at the last, and the ball flips out to the wing. It's not going to have enough to get over the line. Badawia is there and dispossessed by Carly Johnson. But yeah, we heard Teresa Polias mention that friendly. So I understand Badawia actually played against her own teammates in that training game for Sydney FC against Sydney Olympic, and actually scored a few past her own teammates just to remind Ante Juric of her ability, and maybe that's why she's found her way back onto the bench for this big final here.
We mentioned just the one goal for the season with Sydney FC. She was a late signing to join the club, but she has been a prolific goal scorer in NPL and New South Wales as well.
They'd love a goal now out of her. Badawia fouled here by Angie Beard. Followed her partner to Australia, who's an international water polo player, Grace. That's how Badawia ended up in Oz. So we see a free kick here, and we had a shot from Sarah Hunter a few minutes ago. This is a bit further out though, Grace, and perhaps more likely to be seeking a teammate rather than direct on goal.
Western United have to be careful here, Sawicki. A little reckless with that late challenge. It was a good cut from Sarah Hunter. The more they offer up set pieces from this area of the field, the more pressure they're going to put on themselves. And for Sydney FC, Hawkesby behind the ball, the architect behind so much of what Sydney do.
Well, 5 in the wall, so Western United are not leaving anything to chance here with the direct shot on goal. And by the way the players are lined up, well, they've got Rachel Lowe lurking at the top right corner of the box. Hawkesby is going to shoot direct, and Hilary Beale had the angle just about right, and is staying down here, perhaps saying, I want to call the trainer. Referee Georgia Ghirardello. Well, is this a leave the game injury, or is this a running repairs injury?
Look, I think I may have seen Hilary Beale say that she's cramping through that left calf the moment she went to ground. I think she called to referee to say that she was cramping.
Yeah, cramping, so it's not a leave the game injury. Alyssa Daloste, the Western United backup goalkeeper, 22 years old, one appearance for a handful of minutes earlier in the season in the second half of Western United's 5-0 win against Canberra. So, not very experienced, and no doubt Mark Torcaso will be hoping that his team can see out the remaining 18 minutes of this game, because the last thing he'll want to have to think about is a goalkeeper sub.
Hilary Beale, despite having a couple of touchy moments in her distribution this evening, she is so important to this Western United team. Her experience wearing the captain's armband tonight.
Well, back up after a bit of treatment administered. I'm sure it'll be all tagged on to stoppage time. Of course, Melbourne City equalised after 7 minutes of stoppage time yesterday in the elimination final. So we know that late drama is stock in trade for the Liberty A-League. Sydney FC, though, the clock is slowly starting to become their enemy here as they chase this game. McLean, ball over the top. Haley heading out to the right. And Angie Beard gets there before Rola Badawia. Bit of backspin, not able to keep it in, though. Angie Beard deep down in defence. way too early for Western United to drop anchor and time waste at every stop. You'd think that that might simply serve to invite Sydney FC on. And they wouldn't mind that because they've got plenty of attacking weapons out there. On this occasion, Papadopoulos foils Abini. Here's Tobin stepping on the ball. Just at times today, Grace, you've seen the likes of Angie Beard step out, anticipate a pass, get in front of a crossfield ball and be able to short-circuit Sydney's attempts to switch from one flank to the other.
Yep, there's been a couple of narrow passes that haven't quite met their desired destination, whether it's the surface, a little heavy underfoot, or just the size of the pitch itself. And Angie Beard has been key in intercepting some of those passes, as has Charlotte McLean at the other end for Sydney FC.
Only one Taranto out on the pitch now, and that is Adriana. You see the passing accuracy stat there, Western United at 59. I mean, that's a lot of giveaways. It's a lot of hopeful long balls that aren't necessarily being put anywhere near a teammate. Haley knocks it back to Abini. Alana Cern coming out from the centre of defence to really make it difficult, but Abini shrugged the attention. And now Haley. Crossfield pass this time is going to meet Badawia in stride. Badawia, first time ball. Beale parries it away. Tobin with the follow-up. And Beale was in the right place, but Nat Tobin on a tight angle. That was exciting there from Sydney.
Yet again, Madison Haley at the base of this attack, and what a switch pass that was. The first time ball from Rolla Badawia, the right decision. Hilary Beale needed to swat that one away, and Nat Tobin, who's starting to play a little bit more of an advanced role as this game wears on.
Through ball here, Rachel Lowe, not able to continue bearing down on goal. Hawkesby with a shot, straight at the keeper, and now plays whistle dead due to contact on a Western player. Angie Beard was wiped out, she's down and hurt. Fans aren't sympathetic, but Angie Beard looks in some distress here, and her teammates are quick to tend to her. The shot from Mackenzie Hawkesby just picked out the goalkeeper.
Angie Beard's certainly not the kind of player to go down easily and does look to be in some level of distress. Sydney FC really starting to pick up the tempo here, and as I was saying just before Hawkesby unleashed that shot, Nat Tobin, she'll start to step up a little higher.
You see, it was non-contact. Beard goes down, twisting her ankle in the surface in the build-up to that shot on goal. So she was down, playing everyone on side.
Those ones are awful. And your footing just gets caught underneath, and those ankle rolls really do hurt. And Angie Beard, we were just speaking about moments earlier, has been key in Western United's defensive line tonight.
As far as remaining subs on the bench, Natasha Dakic and Julia Sato are both defenders. Neither of them have Beard's level of experience. Sato a former junior Matilda, Dakic very much a graduate through the NPL in Victoria. And Angie Beard, the assessment continues on this rolled ankle here. And if you missed it on the last replay, watch Angie Beard in the gold boots near the penalty spot there. The left foot twisting and planting in the turf, Grace. And here's another look at how, it's, a classic rolled ankle. Nothing out of the ordinary, but still very unpleasant.
Unpleasant for Angie Beard, unpleasant to watch that one once and twice over. She just completely lost her ankle underneath her. You can see she's really struggling to weight bear, and I dare say there will be a change here for Western United, which is a huge out. Beard has been excellent this evening.
So as Beard is carried to the sidelines, Neve, what's it like down there near the sidelines as they make a decision on if they can sub her off or not?
Well, listen, the Cove were giving her a very hard time, but it's definitely an injury there. We feared the worst when we first saw that non-contact injury, but hopefully it is her ankle as opposed to her knee.
Yeah, it initially did look like it could be her knee, and we know Angie Beard has been through, an ACL before, but fortunately it looks like it's her ankle, but unfortunately she'll have to come off.
So that sub does go through. Julia Sato on for Angie Beard, who's out of this final with 12 minutes of regulation to go. Sato, 27 years old, and has her own history with overcoming injuries, was a junior Matilda who didn't make her A-League Women's debut until her mid-20s due to spending time away from the game and then coming back in the lowest state leagues, playing for Brunswick Juventus in Melbourne. And then Mark Torcaso, who was a coach at Bundoora United in the old Women's Premier League when she was a star junior, was able to bring her back into the NPL. She got her breakthrough with the Perth Glory and Alex Aparkis before spending a season at Melbourne City last campaign, and now Western United in their inaugural season. So that sub goes through, and Sydney FC continue to chase the game. See the XG count there. Western United 0.29, but they have the lead. Ibini at the byline. Can't get the better of Steer, even though Papadopoulos was out of the equation. Fenton pops up a pass. And Taranto is able to win the ball from Hunter. And lays it out in front of Carly Johnson. Work to do for Johnson. Takes on Charlotte McLean. Was a teammate last year. So McLean will be experienced defending against Johnson, who drops the shoulder. Carly Johnson with a turn of speed. Gets to the byline, and McLean is able to clear only as far as Savicki. Savicki back to Johnson. This time it's Charlie Rule to deal with. And Johnson able to open up space. McLean lunges out for the cross. Savicki follows up. It's just persistent waves of attack from the dual attack there of Jacqueline Savicki and Carly Johnson. They refuse to be beaten.
Carly Johnson breathing deeply after a great attacking run. So we see Angie Beard take to the bench.
Well, that's a great scene there with Courtney Vine, isn't it? The two Queenslanders just making sure each other's okay.
It is great to see that sportsmanship between the two. Little thumbs up from Angie Beard. But she's definitely walking a little hesitantly on that ankle.
Well, I just wonder if Western had not perhaps had a few instances where the crowd was getting on the referee's back about time wasting. Could they have held their nerve and maybe spent some time down to 10 to keep Angie Beard in the game? Anyway, the moment's passed. The sub's been made. Here's Taranto. A second goal now would leave Sydney FC with a monumental task. Western United, how they would love to break the shackles and score against the run. Sato, promising first involvement. Linking up with Taranto, and then that pass under hit. Rachel Lowe is there for Sydney. Lowe with Savicki trying to shadow her, creating a little bit of separation. Very few teammates nearby. Mackenzie Hawkesby eventually presents for the ball. And now Hunter. McLean getting forward, the centre-back. McLean, a deflection off Sydney Cummings, behind for a corner kick.
Well, it's largely been Sydney FC's defence driving into the midfield, looking to create Nat Tobe and Charlotte McLean. The midfield is so dominant across the course of the season for Sydney FC. I've got to say, has been relatively quiet tonight in Hawkesby and Hunter, but we do know they are the kind of players that wear on into a game very, very well.
Madison Haley being marked by Hannah Keane at this corner. You see it there beyond the far post. Hawkesby drives it low to Rachel Lowe, and she was trying to twist around on a tight angle. And now she's down, but it's going to be quickly pulled back to her feet by her teammates. 82 minutes ticked by.
Whether or not that was the intended delivery from Hawkesby, I don't mind the low driven cross. The near post run from Rachel Lowe, and she's just connected to the knee of Danielle Steer as she's gone to ground there. Good to see her back to her feet.
TJ Vlanich is full of voice from the sidelines. You can tell what this means to Western. Ante Juric holding his nerve. He knows his team has been there and done it before. They came from 2-0 down against Melbourne City in this very final last season. Kirsty Fenton takes some metres and throws it straight onto the head of Danielle Steer. Hawkesby able to outpoint Savicki, and now Lowe sends it to Butterweir. Julia Sato, her new marker, is out there. Butterweir trying to keep it in because I think she was aware that it was going out for a goal kick. Let's go down to Neve Owens, who's got an update for us.
Angie Beard is sitting just very close to us here, Teo, on the bench. She's got the physio working on her left foot by the looks of things. He's working on the side of her left foot and she's indicating that she can feel the pain going up her leg from that spot. She doesn't look as distressed now, though, as she did earlier, so hopefully that is a good sign severity-wise. But the physio and the doctor are both working away on her at the moment.
Thank you, Neve, and we had some pictures there of exactly what you were describing to us. So, Angie Beard, watch this space. The question is, will she be in a race against time to play in the grand final or the preliminary final next weekend? Sydney FC need to find an equaliser if they want to change their situation. Haley holding off the defenders. Papadopoulos into her own teammate, Abini! And the ball has just been magnetised to Hilary Beale. So many shots straight at the keeper, and even though that's 12 on target, Grace, Hilary Beale has not had to move for many of them.
Well, 12 shots on target for Sydney FC to Western United's 2. But the score at the moment that's making the difference is that one that's found its way into the back of the net. Hilary Beale, time and time again, positioned well. But these shots not challenging her hugely. They're the kind of saves a goalkeeper should be making, straight to her.
And now, I mentioned at the 73-minute mark, it was a little bit early for Western United to drop anchor. Grace, are we going to see a bit more deliberate time wasting here from Western United as they see the finish line getting that little bit closer?
This is going to be a real test for Western United.
Keane brings down the long ball. Trying to make something happen, Keane on the turn, but McLean nicked it off her toes. Butterweir in the defensive half. Loses out to Keane. Is in with a slide challenge, but that'll be a Western United throw. And every time the ball goes dead, they'll slow to walking pace. They'll take a little bit more time off the clock.
As I was just mentioning, in the real test.
Steer, Danielle Steer trying to turn Tobin. Here's Papadopoulos over the bar and into the advertising boards behind the goal. Stacey Papadopoulos has not scored in her inaugural A-League Women's season, the 26-year-old, but we saw the cross shot earlier in the half. She's probably had Western's 2 best chances to score a second goal.
Well, that fell kindly to Papadopoulos, and I tell you what, it wasn't too far off. As I was saying, and I'll try a third time, this will be a real test for Western United to see how they can see out this final few minutes. First time in the league, first time playing a semi-final. A lot of these players never having played in the A-League Women's before, and now here they are, minutes away from booking their ticket to the grand final, but plenty of work to do yet.
Here is Papadopoulos to Keane. Able to chase down the first touch and then skip around the challenge of Hunter. Savicki in the middle, Johnson on the left. And Savicki uses Johnson now. Carly Johnson dispossessed by Rule, who can't find a teammate with the pass. Sato, you saw the sand just springing up out of the turf there as she got her boot caught in the surface. And that allows Rachel Lowe to break away. Lowe to Abini. Sydney will get numbers forward here. Abini, does she go direct or just coughs the ball up? And you see the bobbles again, almost ironically in the same phase of play at opposite ends of the pitch. Both teams being foiled by not the truest roll of the ball.
And here is this gamesmanship from Western United. As the clock ticks around into the 87th minute, this is something that we've seen Princess Abini do time and time again, driving in, drop of the shoulder to try and get a shot away on her right foot and just coming through, collecting the body.
Well, I may have done a disservice to the turf there. That looked like a bit more of just a skill error in the end. Madison Haley, Mackenzie Hawkesby, misses the target! And the crowd were up, and Mackenzie Hawkesby is feeling it because that was a great chance to draw level.
So close for Mackenzie Hawkesby, and as I mentioned, this midfield for Sydney is the kind that wears on stronger as the clock ticks away. I think as these minutes do start to dissolve, what we'll see more and more Sydney FC players pushing forward, Nat Tobin pushing into the midfield, just gambling a little bit. But Hawkesby, she gets better and better as the games wear on.
Deflection here, Beale drawn out of her line. And Sydney Cummings, who has definitely had some iffy moments with her passing out from the back at the tail end of the home and away season. It is something that Western United have minimised today. It certainly hasn't been Cummings as their main distributor out from the back. But now with 2 minutes of regulation to go, the best laid plans can often be thrown out the window. Sydney FC with the captain, Nat Tobin, taking the game on right up the middle. No foul forthcoming. Alana Cern plays it back to Cummings. And right on cue, Cummings is the one with the burden of having to play the pass and just goes for distance. Onto the head of Danielle Steer. Fenton first to recover. Turns it round the corner to Tobin. And now Hunter. A scuffed pass, an underhit pass. Hannah Keane. Oh, had Carly Johnson on, but it was a little laconic. And McLean charges through. Can Sydney FC go end to end? Hawkesby plays it to Rachel Lowe. Abini's the option on the left. And Abini goes to work on Papadopoulos. Abini at full speed, charging into the 6-yard box. And then ran out of real estate at the byline just as teammates were lining up for the cutback.
Princess Abini has come into life. Of excellent touches just to afford herself some space. She breezed past Papadopoulos. Great touch on her inside. Just this second one slightly let her down. It's drifted out for a goal kick. And these will be precious moments for Western United. So intrigued to see how much extra time, how much additional time we see at the end of this.
If you have a Twitter account, get ready to tweet. Ball up for Hunter. Now Hawkesby cuts it inside. Madison Haley. Abini can't get to the ball. Papadopoulos swept onto it. Now Steer. Keane. Hannah Keane. Path blocked. There will be 8 additional minutes of stoppage. There was 7 yesterday. We got a goal as the clock hit 97. Will it be the same story today? And Grace, that, if nothing else, takes a bit of the pressure off Sydney FC. They've got time to work with to chase an equaliser here.
And fair to say it will be the longest 8 minutes of Western United's season. Mark Takaso pacing along the sideline.
Johnson down to the corner. Rule and Butterwear attracting a crowd. It's going to be Sydney FC's throw. Johnson still buzzing around, able to win the ball back for Western's cause. Now Hannah Keane. Danielle Steer. Not the first touch she was hoping for, and it loops into the grasp of Wyman. Fenton's away. And Danielle Steer does well to get back goal side and slow things down. That's what you want from your subs. The energy to keep running at the end of a long and difficult physical game. And Alana Cern, who's gone the full 90, is going to boot the ball straight back to Charlotte McLean. Sydney FC, can they create the wave after wave of attack that might lead to an equaliser?
Interchanging in the midfield, Sydney FC. Mackenzie Hawkesby pushing a little higher.
Long ball from McLean. Well read in the air by Cern. You saw Haley lurking, but Cern was able to read it best. Now Rule. Here's Hunter. Fenton pressing up to join the attack. Western have got numbers out to the ball here, though. Abini breezes past Papadopoulos, but is forced back to Hunter. It's a compact Western defence. Can Tobin unlock it? Skips past the challenge of Taranto. Out to Badawiya on the right. Roller Badawiya engages Carly Johnson, and Johnson does very well to win a goal kick.
Really well defended there by Carly Johnson. She's done a wealth of attack up that left side for Western United, but defensive duties as well. Had to be alert to the threat of Roller Badawiya. Good physicality. Really great 1v1 defending.
I know we've got stoppage time to finish, but is this Carly Johnson's coming-of-age performance, Grace? What a 90 minutes it's been. The assist for the goal, a power of running, and so much hard work, both defending and attacking.
Well, it's been a huge evening for the 19-year-old, the young Matilda. These important performances for a player like Carly Johnson, and she's been spectacular this evening.
A player who could quite easily have taken a spot on the Sydney FC bench this season. and waited for game time, but decided to make the move to Western United. And right now, it might be paying off. Can she do more here? On the ball, Johnson with a shot, and Wyman is down to hold. It may not necessarily have been on target, but it takes us to 3 of 8 ticked by. Wyman's throw onto the body of Rovers, who brings it down under her control. And Rovers twisting and turning. It's tight in the clinches in midfield. And the pass from Savicki coughs the ball up, but Keane, defending from the front, dispossesses McLean. And back out to Carly Johnson. Where else would you go? It's been her night. And she's going to take it down to the corner.
Just saw moments earlier, yet again, Charlotte McLean nipping in front of Hannah Keane, reading the ball, the play so well. Carly Johnson, good physicality just to try and tick these minutes away.
Well, that's worked a treat for Western United because they've now got a free kick down in the corner.
Carly, get on it.
Carly Johnson is spent, but selfless play at the moment, giving her all for the team. We've got a substitution here. Natasha Dakic is going to come on for Alana Cern. We're only halfway through the 8 minutes of stoppage time, and this is going to have Georgia Ghirardello just pointing to the watch, and we're going to go beyond 8 then because Western United are going to take their time subbing off Cern here.
You do wonder if there's an injury concern for Alana Cern. She's had another solid evening for Western United. Or if this is just a tactical move to see out a few more seconds.
24-year-old Dakic comes on for her 11th appearance of the season. Western United less than 4 minutes away now from the grand final. And they're appealing for a corner kick, but it's going to be a goal kick. And Jana Wyman, you see there's a couple of spare balls there left behind the goal. Ball kids hard at work too. Goal kick bounces up to halfway. Savicki, only as far as Hunter. Just kicks it long for distance, but Western United have Cummings back. A bobbly back pass for Hilary Beale. Haley is pressing. Beale got caught in possession. It deflects down. Haley's back to her feet. It's chaos in the penalty area, but the flag is up over on the outer side because Madison Haley was offside, and Delphina Demoski is able to just look through that chaos and make the call.
Well, it was a nervy moment here for Hilary Beale. She's just laboured on that touch a moment too long. But wonderful call by assistant referee Delphina Demoski. Madison Haley was on the ground, and as she got up to try and enter back into the play, returning from an offside position.
Oh, that would have been a heartbreaking way to cough up the equaliser for Western United. They've ridden their luck at times tonight. Sydney FC, the clock is their enemy. Hawkesby denied by Savicki. 2 of the 8 to go. Don't forget, Western also made a sub during stoppage time, so it'll be a touch more than 8. Nat Tobin. We know she's played a lot of her career in midfield. She might just stay forward now. Hawkesby with the cross. Haley, it runs through. Rabini was hopeful. Papadopoulos was sure-footed. Now Haley back to goal. Lays it off. Charlie Rule, big deflection away. Sydney FC appealing for handball, but it's just a corner. They've still got a corner kick to work with, do they? It's a goal kick. Well, Grace, talk us through the replay.
Well, nervy moments here for Western United. It's hard to say exactly where the deflection came from, but it has fallen to Western United's favour, and they will see these seconds away.
I guess the call is no deflection. So, goal kick. Ante Juric, a wry shake of the head. Hunter, Badawia. It was at this exact second that Melbourne City equalised yesterday to Sydney FC. Have a bit of a miracle in them. Jana Wyman out of her penalty area. A full-blooded clearance. Papadopoulos knocks it over to Rovers, who's got space. Danielle Steer breaks out to the right. And Steer is going to take it down to the corner. And McLean challenging. Free kick given. Danielle Steer hasn't had a great deal to do in an attacking sense, but this is where her size and strength may prove invaluable as well.
She's just gone to take this one to corner for Charlotte McLean. Really no need to give away a free kick there. She had Danielle Steer facing the corner. And this will just be another opportunity for Western United just to tick away at these seconds.
Well, they didn't milk too many there. It'll take us to the end of the allocated 8. It's all on the generosity of the referee from here. Is there a final twist in the tail? Sydney FC, one last hurrah. Mackenzie Hawkesby hits it up to Madison Haley. And Haley brings the ball under control. Back towards Lowe. Adriana Taranto is there. Taranto is legged. It's a free kick. And a yellow card as well. So Rachel Lowe goes in the book.
Well, clever play there from Taranto. Had close attention.
In
from
fact,
both Hawkesby.
Yeah, it's going to be Hawkesby. Apologies, not Lowe. So Hawkesby gets the card. A wry shake of the head from Mackenzie Hawkesby. And with the time taken off the clock here, we're going to be in the 100th minute by the time the game restarts. Sydney Cummings. Where's it going? One corner or the other. He's going to hit it left onto the head of Rule. Western are first to the ball though. And they're going to get the throw too. The crowd falls silent. Perhaps they know that Sydney FC are going to have to cash in their double chance. And it's going to be a rematch of the last 2 grand finals. Melbourne Victory watching on. Haley denied. Cummings with a good body check. It's out for a throw. Haley is sore. Western United bench her up. And the whistle goes in their inaugural season. Western United are going to the Liberty A-League Grand Final. It's scenes of celebration for the Liberty A-League's newest club because they're going to be in the decider in their first season of competition. Mark Torcaso embracing Andrew Durante there on the bench, and the Western United players out on the pitch celebrate together. They've come to Sydney, they've done the job, and they will be waiting for the winner of a rematch of last year's grand final. It'll be Sydney FC against Melbourne Victory in the preliminary final to play Western United in the decider. Hannah Keane, the Golden Boot, scored the only goal as it finished at Allianz Stadium. Sydney FC 0, Western United 1. Grace Gill, incredible.
Well, the emotions are flowing for Western United, and deservedly so. The fairy tale lives on for their season, in their inaugural season in the A-League Women's. And what a way to book their ticket to the big dance.
And one of the heroes of the day is with Neve Owens.
Hilary Beale, what a moment for this club in your debut season in the Liberty A-League. You've just had a huddle together. What does this mean to you girls?
It means a lot to us. I think we've grinded all season for this, so we're thrilled to come out of Sydney with a win and, come back here in 2 weeks.
25 shots from Sydney FC, 12 on target. What about your own performance tonight?
Big players show up in big moments. So, obviously I had some mistakes, but my team is freaking phenomenal. We grinded till the end, so I'm really happy with it.
You got a ticket to the grand final, my friend. How does that sound?
We're loving it. We're ready for it.
Congratulations. An epic game. Good luck in the decider. Hilary Beale joining us, the captain of Western United. Hilary, thank you so much for having a chat. We're going to bring Nat Tobin in now as well. Nat's been good enough to have a yarn with us as well. Nat, bad luck tonight. You attacked that Western United goal all night long. Where do you think it went wrong?
Really, I think we were the better team. We just didn't put away chances. I think we didn't have enough power in front of goal. Western finished their chances, which seems to be the story of our last few final series. But lucky we get 2 bites of the cherry, so we go again next week.
You've earned that. You've earned that second chance next week. Do you think it was just those final touches that let your side down tonight?
Yeah, I think so. I think, we had probably Court a little bit injured as well, coming back from international duty. She's our top goal scorer, top assist. But, it's just a lesson for us. We can't solely rely on Court, and I think, Maddie came on and made a real difference. And, yeah, it's good to have it now, the loss now, rather than in the grand final, which is what we've had the last few years.
speaking of the grand final, you'll take on Melbourne Victory for a spot in the decider, a replay of last year's grand final, but here at Allianz Stadium next Saturday. How do you regroup and prepare for that?
Well, I think we all watched the semi-final yesterday, so we know what their strengths are. We know what our strengths are, and yeah, obviously we just want to counteract that. I think they had a really good game yesterday, but yeah, I think, you know, the last 2 times we've played them, we've beaten them. So yeah, we want to draw from that confidence.
Bad luck tonight. Good luck next weekend.
Thanks, Neve.
Natalie Tobin from Sydney FC joining us. Time for a very quick break here on 10 Play and Paramount Plus. The post-game show with our player of the match and both coaches is coming up on the other side. It is Western United celebrating, booking their place in the Liberty A-League decider.
Radical, always maximum and past the capital. Never rational, this talent matching, yo, got a problem. It's confidence, so get it, finding how to grow it. Taking every opportunity is showing. Ain't about to let an unbeliever blow it. Self-made, we don't need another throw in. Hey, yo, we can bring it fast and y'all move slow. When we get the pass, let's go, let's go. When we take the shots, you know, like, hey, yo, let's go. Getting every shot from every angle. Making all the moves, getting money on the low. When we get the pass, let's go, let's go.
Welcome back to Allianz Stadium. It is Western United celebrating, booking their spot in the Liberty A-League Grand Final in their debut season in the A-Leagues. What a remarkable performance. 1-0 victors over the Premiers Sydney FC here at Allianz Stadium. Welcome to the post-game show. I'm Neve Owens here alongside Teresa Polias as we have a look at our match stats. Western United with 1 goal, but look at those shots on goal and shots on target from Sydney FC. Does that tell part of the story tonight?
It absolutely does, but it's that 1 goal that matters. And look at those shots at goal, 26 shots for Sydney FC, and they couldn't make anything of it.
A remarkable defensive performance, a remarkable physical performance from Western United, and that's what sparked their all-important goal in the first half. It was a big moment in the midfield, and it was a turnover tee. It was that physicality that we saw work for them so often tonight.
There was a real change in the tide of the game, and this goal shows it. Taranto wins the ball fiercely off Sarah Hunter, and they play the ball out to Carly Johnson. She continues her run with a great overlap of Emma Rovers, and then it's this beautiful cross she puts in for Hannah Keenan in the box. There's no stopping her.
She's a remarkable player, isn't she? And she has had to take on that solo striker role for Western United this season. She said herself it's not a role she's played in the past, but gee whiz, you put the ball in the right place for her and she will find the back of the net every time.
Absolutely, she's made for that role. Seeing her here in person tonight, she's so intimidating, and you could see the Sydney defenders constantly looking over their shoulders throughout the game.
She has this big physical presence that you're right. You see her here in person and you realise what a formidable figure she is. Another player who had a remarkable game for Western United was defensively, and it was Angie Beard, our player of the match tonight, T. Total passes 23, touches 52. But in terms of that physicality that she brought, shutting down Courtney Vine, it was remarkable.
It was absolutely remarkable. When that game changed tides after the 15th, 20th minute, I put it down to Angie Beard and her mentality and physicality.
Joining us now is Angie Beard. Angie, congratulations on a remarkable performance tonight. I'm going to ask you about that injured foot in just a moment's time, but first let's celebrate the positives. Your performance, the physicality against Courtney Vine was remarkable.
Yeah, I guess I was sitting at the couch at home watching the Matildas, obviously against Scotland in London, and I grew up with Court. I always knew that she's something special, and I think for me personally, I'm not too bad myself, I guess. So I just wanted to bring, that thing extra, that's something you can lean on and really look to as a team and see, you can bring it 100% to players like Courtney, like Madison Haley, like Princess Abini, and come out on top.
And Angie, you mentioned you grew up playing with Courtney Vine, and what did you do during the week in preparation to mentally prepare?
For Courtney?
For Courtney, yeah.
I think she's a great player, but first and foremost, we're a great team. We come second in our first year here with a bunch of girls like this. We focus on ourselves first and foremost.
Game plan wise, it felt like from the absolute get-go tonight, you were determined to get up in Sydney FC's grill, that you were really bringing that physicality. Was that part of the game plan?
I think that's just part of finals football. I mean, you saw it against Victory in City yesterday. There was a lot of hard tackles, a lot of crunching tackles, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what happens in the season. In finals, it's finals, and you need to really stamp your name on the games.
We saw you go down late in this game. We were concerned on the sideline, as you always are when you see those non-contact injuries. Talk us through. You got ice on your left foot. How's it feeling, and what did you feel in that moment?
It's just feeling cold at the moment, honestly. I'm not too stressed out about it. I think if you play football, if you play sports of any kind, you can kind of get a rolled ankle here and there. So I don't think I've played on this surface before at Allianz, and I know it's been under a lot of game time here with many sporting codes. So I think just finding a wrong spot there for a hot second, but it's okay. I feel great. I think with the extra time that we get now before the grand final, I'll be good to go.
How good that you've earned that week off. Angie Beard, congratulations on booking your spot in the decider in a remarkable game tonight.
Thank you very much.
Angie Beard from Western United joining us. Let's have a look at the chances that Western United created tonight, because Teresa on the counter-attack, as we've seen them do so often this season, they absolutely looked the goods.
This is what they love. They love being up against it. They love the counter-attack, and it's Hannah Keane here who is just unstoppable once she gets in behind, running at defenders. It's a scary sight.
It sure is, and isn't she dominant? She brings that physical presence. We've seen her sink 13 throughout the Liberty A-League season, and ultimately earning that golden boot right.
Absolutely earned it, and you could see during the game, on and off the ball, she really makes defenders nervous.
She does. We saw that from Sydney FC tonight. They had to rally. They had to find a way to shut her down. And in that moment in the first half, when they created the clear-cut scoring opportunity, she was there on the spot to take it.
She was there, and you could seeing her in that box ready to pounce on that ball. Absolutely unstoppable. Defender's worst nightmare.
Jada Wyman having to earn her stripes there in goal tonight, and ultimately it was Western United with that one first half goal earning them the victory. We can see the players out in the middle celebrating, preparing for that fortnight off before the decider. And the Western United coach, Mark Torcaso, has been good enough to join us on the post-game show now. Mark, congratulations on what has been a remarkable debut season in the Liberty A-League. Did you think going in that booking the first spot in the grand final was a realistic goal?
Never thought we'd be in this position, to be quite honest. Like we worked extremely hard in the off-season to get this team right and get this club right in regards to the girl space, and to be in this moment right now and now to be playing in the grand final is absolutely amazing. So,
Mark, the fairy tale continues. You could hear you and the rest of the coaching staff rallying the troops out there. Do you feel like the team executed the game plan today?
Definitely did. I didn't expect them to have that many shots on target against us, but we defended extremely well. We knew it was going to be a tough game. They got probably the best front line in the league. So for us, it was just about sticking to our task that we basically put out during the week and get a sucker punch goal, and we got one, and we just defended extremely well today.
Had those ebbs and flows throughout the season. After an incredibly dominant start to their campaign, it felt like tonight the physicality that you brought and the way you counter-attacked, it felt like you'd conjured up that same vibe that we saw work so well early in the year.
Yeah, definitely. Like the season and every game that we played, we literally fought for each other, and it was that. And having people like Chloe and Jess McDonald that help drive those things are very important for our group. And you saw it today. It was typical of our season. We just literally grinded out games and worked really hard for each other. So yeah, it's a credit to the girls and to the club and everyone that's been part of this.
And Mark, take us back to week 1 of the season, inaugural season. Most of your girls had never played in the A-Leagues, and now to this. Talk us through the season that was. Yeah,
it's been amazing. Like we had up to 12 girls that had never been exposed to A-League. So for us, it was seeing how that was going to pan out, and here we are. We're going to be going into a grand final. So I can't even think back then to round 1. All I know is about Melbourne victory in round 1, 1-0. So from that perspective, it's been a fantastic journey, and we hope the success continues for us.
Mark, a moment ago you mentioned Jess McDonald and Chloe Lagazzo and them helping you set the tone. We spoke to Chloe in the pre-game, and she said, you know what, they make it through to the decider and I'll be good to go on grand final day. What are your thoughts? 100%.
Chloe could have been good to go today, to be honest, but we just want to make sure she's okay and ready to go. We backed the team that we had out there today. And there's no doubt Chloe will be ready to go in the grand final.
That ain't a bad inclusion at all. Mark Torcaso, congratulations on making it through to the grand final. Thank you for having a chat with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks, ladies.
Head coach of Western United, Mark Torcaso, joining us. Let's have a look at what Sydney FC dished up tonight, because you know what? They created, a whole heap of scoring opportunities. They attacked that Western United goal, particularly in the second half, time and time again.
They really did. 26 shots doesn't lie. And, just highlights the issue Sydney have in finals with that finishing touch. The execution, the passing was good around the front third. It was just that final shot that they didn't have tonight.
Charlotte McLean was a really big inclusion tonight. She is such a smart footballer, and it felt like she managed to get herself in the right place on so many occasions for Sydney FC in defence.
She was amazing, and you could put together a 90-minute montage of the time she intercepts passes and reads the play perfectly.
Matt Tobin mentioned in the post-game that Courtney Vine, their star Matilda, was coming back from international duties, maybe carrying a little bit of a niggle. Did you think Courtney was slightly off the pace tonight? Because we still saw her drive at those defences, use that pace that we know she has.
Look, she's had a busy calendar and she could be a little bit fatigued, but she started. I wouldn't put any blame on Courtney whatsoever. She did a good job, but Angie Beard did a great job as well. Sydney FC have enough talent all over the pitch to make something of this match.
One man who's well aware of the talent they possess is head coach Ante Juric, and Ante has been good enough to join us on the post-game show now. Ante, bad luck tonight. We have just seen the number of opportunities your side created. Where do you think it went wrong?
Yeah, obviously not scoring with those opportunities. I thought our performance was outstanding, to be honest. I told them that at half-time just now, but the end result didn't go our way. But I was super happy with our performance. But yeah, we need to fix up some of that finishing.
And Ante, it's hard to coach scoring of shots, isn't it? So, there were a lot of positives in tonight's match. How are you going to prepare for next week?
Oh, just to keep positive, but you're right, it's very tough to make a striker, so you need someone natural talent. But now Maddie's back as well, closer to full fitness, so she could maybe get a start next week. But I was just happy with the relentless pushing forward, and our time will come where the goals will come, and hopefully it's next week, and then hopefully the week after.
Looking ahead to that game next week, How do you prepare for it, and do you make changes heading into what we have seen in the grand final for the last 2 seasons in the row? Sydney FC, Melbourne Victory. It's a big clash.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot wrong today, so we'll have to think about the changes. But in saying that, we might change it up to counter what Victory do. And there's a big clash there. Obviously, we've had history, and I don't have to do much in terms of motivation, which is enormous for us to play that game. I don't know about changes. We'll have to see this week.
How do you treat a player like Courtney Vine in the lead up to another game? She has had such a hugely hectic fortnight, including big international travel. Do you nurse her through this week and give her a little bit of time off to recover?
Yeah, she only turned up on Friday. I was a little bit disappointed that she played against England in terms of me from Sydney FC point of view after her tough schedule, but that's what it is. But yeah, we'll have to, maybe give her Tuesday off, Monday and Tuesday off, and then relax and do the back end of it. But we still need her sharp and ticking over. You don't want to have too much off. But yeah, she's had a long schedule of late.
And Ante, I know you'll back the girls to win their game in the 90 next week, but you're up against Victory. They just won a shootout. They've got Casey Dumont in goals, the shootout queen, so to speak. Do you think that you'll practice pens this week?
We probably will, but yeah, but I'm probably more confident now that it's a semi-final against them than the grand final, because they've knocked us off in the grand final, but they've not knocked us off in the semi that I've been here. So yeah, we got the upper hand in semis, so we'll be okay. But yeah, we'll have to do that out of just detailing our game. You never know what'll happen, but definitely aiming for the 90. But yeah, but we got them.
Ante, bad luck tonight. We cannot wait to see your girls back in action next weekend.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Ante Juric, coach of Sydney FC, joining us as we have a look ahead to that game next weekend. We've got 3 teams remaining. One of them is waiting in the decider in Western United. And these 2 sides, Sydney FC and Melbourne Victory, will fight it out on Saturday afternoon back here at Allianz Stadium for the right to meet Western in the final. T, it's a big blue with a difference, isn't it?
It's a big blue. It's a grand final rematch. And I agree with Ante. I'm glad they're meeting again in the semi-final. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
Cannot wait. We can't wait to join you again next Saturday afternoon. Teresa Polias, thank you for such a fun afternoon.
Thanks, Neve. It was an absolute pleasure.
A big thank you to Taya Palizzari and Grace Gill for the call of the game as well. We hope you enjoyed it at home. It is Western United in their debut season in the Liberty A-League, celebrating Hannah Keane's goal and a 1-0 victory over the Sky Blues. Sydney FC live to fight again. They'll go again next Saturday against Melbourne Victory, and that's when we'll see you again for more Liberty A-League action.
Yeah, we look nice. Future looking real nice. We don't need to tell them twice.
The future.